All right, and here we go. Welcome to episode number 39 of You Had Me at Halo, where we talk about one of gaming's most storied franchises. And today we got a few different things to cover. We got to talk about Halo Beyond Consoles, the TV, with the TV trailer. We also have to talk about some big team battle fixes and whether those are working, and then also the elephant in the room, which is the roadmap. But before we dive into all this,
It's more like the elephant not in the room.
Not in the room, yeah. The
elephant. I thought you were going to throw it to me when you said the elephant in the room. I was like, oh no, here we go.
We're still waiting for the instructions to find I don't know, whatever. I'm losing it. All right, let's get back to introducing the Spartan panel for today. I'm going to go ahead and start with Spartan Jesse, aka Mr. Don Cabeza. How are you feeling? How's how is your head feeling?
Lighter, colder. Hair was growing in kind of dumb. I didn't like the way it looked, so it's just a reset, you know?
All right.
A reset of this hair era.
Yeah, I mean, you look good.
Yeah, it works on you. Isn't your head a little cold, though? Like this time of year? Isn't it the kind of thing you usually...
Yeah, I'm in Florida, man. It was 82 degrees today.
Son of a bitch. All right.
82.
I don't let's move on to Spartan Aarsal. He understands my pain here.
Mid-20s, high 20s Celsius.
AKA Mr. Soulblazerz.
28 Celsius.
Oh,
yeah.
So how you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I have the opposite problem.
Yeah, you're growing your hair out because
yeah,
we live in cold weather, and we can't even open our doors right now, right?
No, I just need to get a haircut, and I'm too lazy to go get it.
Yeah, it's all right. You won't make it there anyways. But how you doing?
Good.
Good. All right, next up we got Spartan Daniel, aka Mr. Knottian. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. Ready to talk some Halo. Got to play some BTB before we started, so it was a nice change of not being able to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely looking to talk more about that. And then we have a returning guest, Mr. Spartan Austin, aka Mr. Bear. How are you doing, Austin? Welcome back, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys having me back on again.
Yeah,
enjoying the nice little freeze that we're getting down here in Texas right now. Surprising, the yard has been green since last January. So
yeah.
I hate you guys.
Yeah, we don't know
I'd
what
really
that's
love
like.
some cold weather.
Yeah, man. I definitely will be moving out of here as soon as the kids get old enough. But that's another podcast. So we're going to go ahead and jump into today's topics. I think we're going to go start off with something a little bit lighter, and we'll talk about Halo Beyond the Game, Beyond the Consoles. The TV trailer came out last week. There's been some positive things and obviously some more controversial ones, but I wanted to kind of turn it over to this panel here to kind of get their thoughts. And the reason is our panel, for the most part, is pretty deep into the lore of Halo in terms of, knowing the backstories, knowing the books, really understanding the stories in the games. And what we saw this week was that it's not a show without a cat incident. What we saw this week is they did reveal the TV show, and obviously we knew ahead of time it wasn't going to be canon. I think for some people that maybe took them off guard because they hadn't been following along. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on what you saw. Like, did it meet your expectations in terms of the way it looks, and also just really get your thoughts about this direction where it really is not going to tie into or be held down to any of the existing lore. I'll go ahead and start with you, Daniel, because I know you like all your lore, you like your books. What did you think about what they showed so far?
Well, it's definitely a lot better looking than I think the initial teaser and kind of what I'm sure those of us who've seen Nightfall, we're still a little bit scarred by some of the effects in that, as well as just like the general pacing and quality of the writing. I think this looks, I'm still trying to keep lowered expectations, because it's rare for, I mean, as we all know, it's rare for a game property to do well in film form, right? So even if it's a show. So I'm excited more than I was, but I'm still just being a little bit cautious. But as far as like, I saw a lot of the criticisms, Cortana's not blue enough and all this other kind of stuff. And we already knew that it was going to be a separate timeline, which I think works more in its favor, because it's not going to be nearly as beholden to 20 plus years of lore that's been built at this point, because trying to get even a couple of years of worth of lore from a video game into filmic form is a nearly impossible task. And now if you try to do that for 20 years worth, it's going to be impossible. So I think separating itself from the expectations that people have around the lore that they're familiar with, I think ultimately is a good thing. And I don't mind that Halsey has an English accent. I don't mind that Cortana is not as blue and all that kind of stuff. But it is really cool to still have Jen Taylor, because I think anybody who's played Infinite can attest to her dynamism as an actor. So those are my thoughts.
Good call outs. Hey, Forebear, how about you, man? Anything stand out to you at this point?
I mean, like, I think it looks great. I think the trailer did a really good job of selling it to people who aren't Halo fans. I think this is a big part of what that trailer's purpose was. I think the little like Halo chant we got after the fact was more for people like us.
The little commercial after, right?
Yeah. Where it's like Chief like shaking his head at all of the other properties on Paramount Plus, like humming the Halo theme. I love that. I thought that was great. I think the show looks fantastic. I can't wait to see more of the practical effects. We know that there's definitely an element to the show that is practical. I'm super into that kind of stuff. I think as far as like lore is concerned and inconsistencies between like the game stuff versus like the Silver timeline, which I'm super into the idea of that. Like all I'm looking for out of this is an entertaining action series that happens to have characters and events and locations that I love. Like as long as it's decent, I'll be happy.
So are you saying that the people, the non-Halo fans, they really like Phil Collins, huh?
Can I tell you? I was jamming out. I was like, hell yeah, Phil Collins.
Phil Collins,
I feel like it's for people like my
I know Phil Collins is.
who like has never been a Halo fan, right? Who's never been a Halo fan, but like is super into like sci-fi. So like he'll probably watch this Halo show. That kind of thing.
To be honest, there's not that much good sci-fi out there anyway. So take what we get, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That is true. There really isn't. I mean, you think of all the big shows. What are the best? They have that one. Expanse,
Foundation, Invasion, the Expanse. Yeah, I think we're in a
Invasion. I heard had some mixed.
I haven't seen any of those. I guess I'm just out.
Well, Invasion was an alien invasion story that was not like any other alien invasion story.
It was about the people, not the invasion, right? Or
I heard. Yeah, I love that show. I thought it was fantastic. But I think we're kind of in a silver era of.
I've heard really good things about The Expanse. Like my roommate's been trying my roommate's been trying to convince me to watch The Expanse. I just haven't. I'm just playing video games.
And The Expanse is also a sci-fi show, right? It started off sci-fi for the first few seasons.
Yeah.
And it looked great. So,
all right. Well, Mr. Soul, over there, my fellow cold weather, buried in snow person. What are you looking for?
Sorry. I thought I heard something.
Looking for Phil Collins CD.
First off, Phil Collins.
Like, I don't.
And I swear, if I get this wrong,
I'm gonna. Phil Collins is?
Okay, if I get this wrong, I'm gonna close the entire podcast. But Tarzan, right? That's
who watches
Phil
Tarzan?
Collins? That's Phil Collins, right? The entire Tarzan soundtrack. Strangers Like Me. Come on, guys. What is this?
I have never watched the movie.
I'm not a Tarzan.
Animated one.
It's like if that's your reference for Phil Collins, I am so sorry.
It's Tarzan, a couple other Disney
the
movies.
1999 Tarzan movie. He did the.
Have you guys not seen this movie? It's amazing.
No,
one of the best soundtracks ever.
You're talking about What is that? The Brendan Fraser one or some shit?
No, it's the
No, the
animated Disney
animated
one.
one.
I had grown out of Disney well before then.
Oh, he's
I
right.
was
I'm looking it up.
17.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Aarsal was
Anyways,
like 8.
It is.
I would
Phil
actually
Collins.
recognize Phil Collins. I would
You were
say
like what
that guy.
you were like 4 or 5 maybe when it
All right,
came
well,
out?
guys, that ends the Phil Collins segment of the podcast. So, about that Halo
But
TV
yes,
show.
in terms of the Halo stuff, to summarize it all into as small as I possibly can. Somewhat mixed, overall positive, I'd say. A couple decisions I'm not fully sold on yet. I'm keeping my mind open. Mostly the human enemy, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And in terms of the cover song, I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, why wasn't Halo music?" It's like, this is marketing. It's kind of how it works.
Mm.
You'll get other trailers, like for example,
You
you have-
never get
Yeah.
the show's actual music in a trailer. You almost never, because
Right.
it's not done.
and the downside is sometimes you'll get great music in the trailer that doesn't show up in the product. But like even say that Mortal Kombat movie that came out, right? They barely used that really iconic Mortal Kombat song in the trailer. Like it was just like lightly there in the background, Sonic movies didn't use the song. It's just kind of how it works for these trailers for the marketing. So I'm not really hung up on that.
Yeah, that's fine. Jesse, how about you, man? What's your initial impressions of it?
It looked big budget, which was a concern, but it's the prestige show for Paramount Plus trying to push their global unveiling onto a way more markets than they've been on. So like this is the show they took from Showtime, saying, hey, we're going to take this to Paramount Plus because this is going to be our big show for our big global push. So it's got a lot of money behind it. I don't think it's going to be super focused on only Chief, and I'm sure that'll annoy people. It's going to be about the human raised by the profits that they've made, because that allows them to have an enemy who doesn't cost a ton of CGI money.
Yeah.
It's going to focus on humans who see Chief, like the lady with the
Annie?
ridiculous weird space mullet in
I'm assuming
Pokemon
she's an Annie,
Woodbine.
right? Kind of got that impression. I mean, if they're using AKs, I'm hoping that those were Annies using AKs, not UNSC.
Yeah. And like Chief will be I wouldn't be surprised if he's used for big things, but he's not constant. And I do wonder if people will find that annoying. I don't, honestly. I think you shouldn't have him talk nonstop, and he'd have to if he's the star of the show. Like, it's one thing they've had to do with Boba Fett is he's had to talk a lot. And his actor is actually like, I don't want my character to talk a lot. I think he should be spoken. Like, yeah, but when you're the main character of a show and you're leading scenes, we need you to talk. We can't just have people constantly talking for you. So I definitely do think Jen Taylor's Cortana will end up, if she's with Chief in the same way. It's obviously a very different premise because they're looking for Halo instead of just stumbling upon it. And as far as that goes, I'm fine with it because the lore of the games was written on the fly. And then the people doing the books would actually try and do cool shit. But for some reason, Bungie and Xbox proper always had this push-pull of what's the campaign story, what's the greater world, and they don't marry very well. To the point where Bungie even said, screw it, we're just going to redo or have to make it so we've got to you got to do some mental gymnastics for rewriting Reach when they did the game. And we had a book that was very different than what the game ended up being. So just toss it out as a roadmap you have to follow, and instead have it as a bunch of guides on things you can pull from whenever you want, where you think it works, where you plan it out in the TV medium, which has to be a very different pace because you don't get, even if you beat the game fast, it's just a very different thing from TV when you're doing expository story and just people talking about stuff. You have to have it. It's a different mindset for having a good TV show versus having a good a video game story.
Yeah, it's a
and
different
when
medium.
you try and pull too much, that's why video game movies or TV shows end up being bad, because they end up feeling beholden in some way, or they go way too far, like the Super Mario Brothers movie, which was
That's the first one that came to my mind.
there are ones that feel like they can't go anywhere near it, and then there are ones that feel like they're just stuck in it. And if you're just right from the start, this isn't going to be canon with this long running thing, I think it at least gives you the chance.
You said the
we don't
expectations.
know. Yeah. We don't know if it's going to turn out to be great, but I think this is the most likely way it can turn out to at least be entertaining.
Yeah. I guess I probably started off lower the same way Daniel did in terms of what the expectations are, and I had probably been scarred ever since Super Mario Brothers came out in '94.
And Mortal Kombat.
And the first Mortal Kombat I thought was
great.
amazing.
That was great.
That's a great
But
movie.
I'm talking about the
I
most
die by
recent garbage.
Oh yeah, the most recent one, or even the second one, and they changed
Oh,
out
yeah,
some
Annihilation.
They killed John Cage right at the start, though. That was great.
It was that was so bad, and really, it's been mostly bad. If you anything that's based on video games, the Resident Evils or whatever,
All bad. Every
they're-
one of them.
First one's not
They're
that
really
bad.
atrocious.
It's
No, they're all
Tomb
bad.
Raider, bad. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're either boring or just like awesomely bad, kind of like
They
80s
so
music.
rarely seem to be made by someone who really understands and knows the property. They're just made by somebody
Yeah.
who looks at trailers of the games and then's like, okay, Lara Croft gets double guns and is hot. That's all they know about the entire game.
straight up.
Wasn't that all Tomb Raider's plot was? But no, I mean, I think that that is the one area for hope, though, right? Like, because you do have the people that are behind, that are behind Halo, that are taking part in it, and you do have Jen Taylor.
343's got a lot of people that are focused on this with
It-
their whole transmedia division.
Yeah,
Will feel.
and for as much criticism as you can give 343 in different areas here and there, we'll talk about some of that later. But one area is they do really, I think, respect the lore. So if if they're going to go in a different direction, then it's probably I don't think it's going to to be something that's so left that it really betrays the IP completely. So I'm gonna have to wait and see. I did think that the characters looked good, and for the most part, they look better than some of the other things they did. Like what was that last thing? What was that last one that came out in 2000?
Nightfall.
Oh yeah,
No Unlock.
That's the one I was referencing.
Yeah, like where you had the that was pretty bad.
The Elite and the Hunters.
Yeah, the Elite.
There's no
It looked like you could have put on like a Halloween costume and walked around.
Yeah.
In it,
Yeah, that's the whole budget thing, man.
It's so weird, right?
Yep.
Like I feel like Forward Unto Dawn, like obviously it's
Yeah.
not amazing or great
Oh, that was
even,
pretty
but like
good, though.
I think Forward Unto Dawn is leaps and bounds ahead of what
Yep.
Nightfall was.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and you'd think like coming off of the success that was Forward Unto Dawn, that they would have given more time and money to
Mhm.
Nightfall to have made it a better
Just
overall
Halo 5
product.
development.
Microsoft,
huh?
old Xbox.
That was
And Halo
Myerson's
5.
Xbox.
That must have been-
Xbox was in a much rougher position.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like even Forward Unto
showed.
Dawn had like pretty solid writing. I enjoyed the writing. It fleshed out the characters. But then when it came to the action scenes, they were cool because I'm like, like relatively higher budget Chief. It still
Yeah.
looked not the best, right? But with this
Yeah.
show, it looks pretty good. And Chief looks much better than he did in the teaser trailer. He looked really plasticky in the teaser trailer. He's looking a lot better now.
I also feel like it deserves to be said that Pablo Schreiber is doing, in my
Yes.
opinion, a fantastic job voicing Chief. Obviously, we need to see the show to really tell if he like embodies that character well enough, both physically and verbally. But like Pablo Schreiber has just like a tiny little southern twinge to his voice. You can kind of hear it on some of the words that he uses, and like I'm all about like a southern chief, man. I'm totally here for it. Like I'm looking forward to the like yeehaw Cortana. Like let's get on
As
up
long
out
as
of
it's
here.
More like Texas, like
Oh,
slight
for sure.
Colorado Southern, and not Tennessee Southern.
Right.
We'll finally get that cowboy
Cortana.
hat, Mike.
I'll
We'll finally get the
allow
cowboy
that
hat microtransaction that we've all been waiting for.
He's a great actor though. And by the way, he
Yeah.
will be talking. You'll be seeing his face. He's not going to be just
Yeah,
the helmet guy.
100%.
I know
Yeah.
some people are expecting that. No, that's not happening.
Yeah, and
you
that's
don't
what-
see the face in the game because you're supposed to be. It's like it makes it feel
Right.
more like it's you and you're the
Right.
avatar.
Yeah.
The whole Gordon Freeman thing. I don't know why people think that would translate into a TV show. It's
Well,
just
to a show,
stupid.
yeah.
No,
Also,
you
at
can't
this
do that.
point, you can't. I don't want to say can, but at this point, there's no real gain by showing Chief's face. It doesn't really matter. They've established the character with who he is from his body action and his voice. You know what I mean? And this last game, Infinite, had probably the most emotion Chief has ever shown, but it was done really well and more emotion than the vast majority of faced game characters ever show. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and like Jesse was talking about earlier too, like the difference between like the different forms of media between television and video games. Like, you want people to care about Chief on a level that the average gamer doesn't care about Chief.
Yeah.
You want the average
Yeah.
viewer to care way more about him. So like, you need that personal connection that's more than just like the cool helmet. You need to see like him struggle with things and he emote those things with his face. So there's no way that they make the show at least a season of it and not show Chief's face at least once.
Yeah,
Literally no way.
And especially not when you act like a pretty damn good actor. Sorry, cast a pretty damn good actor for the role.
Yeah, and that's really what's going to make or break it, right? Like it's I think when you're looking at the special effects, you just want to make sure they're not going to ruin it.
Exactly.
You're not going to go, you don't want some cheesy, something that looks cheap in there, right? That just kind of takes you out of it. But I even think back to Game of Thrones season 1, which was really, really good, and they didn't have those big bodacious battle scenes and things like that, right? But then it was funny. Then as they got the budget increased, the writing got worse and everything else. And it feels like sometimes you can, with having some budget restrictions, you focus more on the characters, and hopefully that comes through. Hopefully they have good writing and figure out how to make these characters interesting. I think at the end of the day, that's ultimately what's going to matter, no matter how it looks. But it looks like at least they're good enough to pull off, if they do have a major action scene, they can pull it off.
Yeah.
Whose cat's acting up right now?
That's mine.
Same.
Sorry, I'm trying to get her up.
I will say, I think the thing that I'm the most curious about as the show exists right now is Soren 066's whole like setup right now, where he's wearing like the Mjolnir armor and a leather jacket over it.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see the explanation for that. He's just like, I'm undercover, and just like pops his jacket off. He's got
I'm not a cop, I
to
swear.
go. You're a cop.
Oh man.
I do wonder if an explanation for like his issues with going through the process of becoming a Spartan, maybe he needs to wear that armor to be able to walk at all. Could be.
I mean, that's totally 100%.
That's what I was wondering, because we don't know.
Right.
Right.
I was checking the
they could
IMDb
just
page.
like retcon the fact that Soren like was disabled from the augmentation. It could just be that he was a Spartan 2 and defected.
Yeah, but then why use Soren? Well, either way. What was I
At least
say?
it's
I was checking.
Team, who is a great actor.
Oh yeah.
I was checking the IMDb page, and there are a lot of characters in the show, and they're all casted for all the episodes. You have both keys casted for all 9 episodes. So that's interesting. It could be IMDb just doesn't have it right yet, but it looks like it does. So yeah, the story might be more spaced out than we expect it to be.
That could be.
I'd imagine that it follows like the typical sci-fi, or I guess the typical television trope in general, right? Where like it's three storylines each episode, and they intertwine every once in a while.
Yeah. Which I think would be interesting. I mean, the thing is like Halo's lore is really expansive. You might as well pull in different storylines, and then you get feedback, and you kill off the ones that aren't working, right? Like we saw that. I mean, going back to Game of Thrones, because it's one of the few shows I watched all the way through, and it got really, really bad. So at the end, they should have just killed them all off. But before they did that, I know that in between, they'd say, oh, okay, people don't like the Sand Snakes because that was really terribly written. They just got rid of it. So I think if you kind of go in different that was just so cheesy.
The problem with Game of Thrones is the more it diverged from the books, and obviously the last 2 seasons didn't have anything to reference.
3,
that's
I think,
when
6, 7, 8.
Right, yeah, when they started diverging away, that's when it became awful, because
The quality fell off a cliff the moment they lost the 5th book.
Yeah.
Well, that's also
we heard
because he can't figure out how to finish it either. That's why we still have a book after a decade.
Piece of crap.
So they were pretty much at the point where, like with Halo, they're not gonna be stuck with having to follow that path for a long time, and then realizing, oh, George actually made this way too big, and even he can't figure out how to finish it. Instead, they're on their own. They can get their own trajectory. They have their own ideas where they want everything to go, which
was
I
a really
think
smart
is by
decision.
far the best way to go.
Yeah,
but
so
it is going to ruffle some feathers, I think, because you'll see some people who played the games and be like, wait, that's not how that happened. Or, hey, this character is not supposed to be here. But it was still the right way to go.
Yeah, I mean, my honest first impression was a lot worse than my third or fourth. I watched it again. My first time watching it, I was like, it's like, I was old man yelling at the clouds, basically. Like
Clowns. What did they ever do to you?
Clouds.
No,
it's like back in my day, our Cortana didn't wear. God, that dress just looks cheap as hell. By the way, what do you guys think of Cortana?
What
dress?
Whatever she was wearing.
It's a CGI uniform.
It's like the same uniform that the weapon wears. I mean, it's not literally, but like that's the impression I got from it. Anyway.
It's got too bedazzled at the over here.
She's a hologram, Abe.
And they are following through on the thought that Cortana is based on Halsey, but she is not just a one-to-one replication of what Halsey looks like. She has her own styling she put in. That's why you can also say that's why her voice is different.
That's the most interesting.
It's like a take on Jesus Christ, I can't remember her name. Natasha McElhone.
Yeah,
it's like a version of her.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not finalized. Especially the voice sync was definitely not finalized. You can kind of tell because they used Jen Taylor's voice, but her voice actor, that was not properly done.
Well, and that's so interesting too, because that wasn't the original plan for the show.
Yeah,
it was the actress playing Halsey was going to do both, and then they brought Jen Taylor in after the fact.
Yeah, because scheduling changes a lot from the pandemic and stuff. She had other commitments and she couldn't do it.
People think like video games were hit hard by COVID. The film industry,
every single Disney Plus show has had 2 or 3 episodes cut from it because of COVID. Every single one.
I mean, in games you can work from home, right? Yeah. Like you can't do that with like film and TV and stuff like that. 100%.
They can lead to like massive rewrites. Recently, Wheel of Time, without any spoilers, the last episode was supposed to have like this big army scene, but they couldn't physically bring their entire like weapon unit. They made like stilts and these giant suits and everything. They couldn't get them on location, so they had to make massive rewrites, change the show, make it all CGI, and it didn't look that good, you know. But it's reality.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys are generally more positive then with the Cortana, or I do like the fact that Jen Taylor's
willing to see what she looks like when it's finalized.
Yeah. Also, she's turning blue sometime during the show. I'd put money on it, or purple. Sometime during the show.
Matters that much.
It doesn't matter at all. But I'm just saying
they just need to make her more of a hologram, right?
I think it'd be interesting for them to embody like the CE version of Cortana, where like she has that like slight blue tint to her. It'd be cool if she just like slowly rotates colors. And finding out a way that doesn't feel super tacky to do that in might be more challenging than it's worth, but
we'll probably mostly hear her, right? I feel just like the games. I feel like I might not see her as often. Yeah,
maybe you're right about that. All right, cool. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
The human enemy. I'm still not sold on that because I personally feel it's one because of budget, and 2 because filmmakers or producers still don't think audiences can like relate to non-human villains, and I hate that trope that thought process like a lot, because for Halo, not the first game, but especially from the second game, the Covenant or the alien races are a big part of Halo. You know what I mean? Not just as villains, but also as partners and as other characters in the universe. I'm hoping if it is a budget-related issue by season 2, but there'll be a season 2, by the way. You don't make this giant show and
they've already renewed it for season 2.
Did they actually renew it already?
Yep.
Yep. Ha. Knew it.
It'll be a new showrunner, but that's the freaking norm in TV.
Loki showrunner left. A lot of good shows get their showrunners leaving. Anyways, I was gonna say, I'm hoping if it is a budget-related issue, we get like a proper puppet or like physical, practical person that we can use, or even just makeup. You know,
make a puppet lady. They'll be a human, just a puppet.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because the aliens in Halo, you can't really do that with just makeup. They're anatomically just really damn different.
Even the grunts are bigger than people. The grunts are way bigger than
you're not gonna have a grunt enemy, right? And for a show.
The Jackal looked good. You only see him for a split second, but he looked good.
No, the Jackal, the animations for him were actually pretty good. If you watch it in slow mo, it actually
Jackal looked
good. He looked like a high budget Jackal. So I think it is. Well, it absolutely is budget, right?
That should be the name of the show of this podcast. I'm going to change it to High Budget Jackal.
Yeah, it's fine. But it could be interesting. I do think it was done for budgetary reasons, for mostly, but I do think it could. you have to think, and this entire planet, you telling me you wouldn't get at least a handful of people that'd be like, yeah, I'll join the bad guys.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that
totally.
aspect.
I
Not
mean,
the
I
planet,
feel
the
like
entire
here in
universe.
America, you probably could get like 30% at least.
Yeah.
I was gonna make that joke. Damn it!
Sorry, that was uncalled for. We should.
We're going to
scratch
build the best bridge ever.
It's just I'm worried that they'll have like when
Word,
Chief
word.
loses to like elites or brutes. I get it. Like they're not only physically stronger than him, but they're like mentally strong, more intellectual too, right? But like if you have Chief and a group of Spartans losing to just a human, it kind of feels weird to me. And considering it's a 9-episode show, you know they're going to be arcs where they don't win or they lose or whatever, you know. And
I don't think she's gonna punch anyone.
yeah,
I
not
think-
physically.
I mean, one of the theories that I saw going around that I subscribed to immediately was the idea that she has been used by the Covenant, obviously to some of her knowledge, but that she is being used as a key
As a reclaimer,
to
right?
activate reclaimer required forerunner tech.
Yeah.
And then once they find something that she's good for, which I imagine is helping the Covenant find the Halo, then they're going to toss her aside. I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting for someone who was raised by the Covenant to join the human side of the war effort,
That'd be really interesting.
that kind of thing.
And save
But
the, save
time
the
will tell,
cheerleader, save
right?
the world, right?
We could be.
You get
She's
completely
not
wrong
walking
about
into
that.
a room, and she's not gonna walk into a room and then like stiletto kick a Spartan's helmet. off
It's
or
not
anything.
that. I mean, like for example, it's
Why not, Jesse?
a villain needs to be threatening. You know what I mean? And Halo villains are always really nicely threatening because they're not only intellectually capable, but they're also physically capable too, right? I just don't think she has that physical capabilities yet. Who knows? Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. But especially in the lore wise, like even like a regular elite are like crazy powerful. The games really don't do justice to how strong like the books and the stuff like that make these elites. Like even like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I agree.
But
That's me not knowing how to end discussions. By the way, again.
I was just thinking though that the prophets aren't powerful.
The prophets
right?
love
They can
to
take a lot of
fuck,
punches.
but then after 100,000 years,
I
they
mean,
got
yeah, you got to jump on the.
evolved.
That is true. Chief does punch the crap.
They
out.
can take a lot of punches.
especially on legendary. Yeah, that
So
was
the thing with the
worst
prophets
possible.
is Christ. So there is a warrior sect of the prophets. They haven't been talked about a lot. None of you assholes have read Divine Wind, right?
Nope.
No.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm saying the warrior race of the prophets shows up in that goddamn book. They
That's
want to
cool.
make them something. They're I forget the freaking name of them.
I know,
This
me
begins
too,
with P.
Jesse. I've been
they
trying to
have
like,
like tiny
throw it
art,
out to
tiny
surprise
skinny
you
art.
that I knew what you're talking about.
Proletariat.
They're like
It's not proletariat,
prelate.
but it's
Prelate.
something like that.
Yeah, the prelates,
Yeah.
and they're like 9 feet tall, and they're insanely powerful warriors.
They are what the prophets were, that race before the forerunners said, "Eat shit, you're getting devolved for being little bitches" 100,000 years ago. Because those
Okay,
prophets
yeah,
were
before the
all
incest and
about
all that
fucking.
stuff.
That was their
Sounds-
entire race was about sex and killing, and then they
And
got devolved into these little shrimp men. So
Man, I
That's
need
what we
Well, and
do.
the
reread-
prelates are like the Spartans of the Sans Shayum,
And it makes
they're,
sense,
They're
right?
just bananas powerful.
it would be
ruled,
real.
like-
I hope we see one of them.
Nice.
Also, I don't know how many times you guys had to reread that scene in the first Warner book, but oh my god, I could not figure out what was happening when they like blew up the planet or activated the ring. It was still kind of iffy for me. It was cool though.
All right. So, guys, any final thoughts before we move?
Yeah, I
on
want to
the
see naked Sanshine warriors.
No.
Yeah,
All right,
please
we're gonna
no.
keep going. This is why we got to hurry up and start busting.
It's
through
streaming
these
too, so I do wonder what rating they're going to go for. I'm assuming PG-13.
Oh,
But
The
they
amount
can
of
throw some
blood
shit.
that we've
violent.
seen already.
It'll be
Like,
Huh?
that's America. It's in America. That's PG-13. You can blood the hell out of
fair.
everything. Are there going to be boobs? Is there going to be F words? That's R.
Well, you get one F word per season in a PG-13 series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it'll be like
that's
real-
fine, but
I mean, Breaking Bad used to use one like bad swear word each season. I would love for the first season to end with Chief dropping an F-bomb.
Yeah, on the streaming, I think you can kind of get away with it as much as you want. They're not super
Yeah.
strict about it.
Yeah.
Like, you can do one per episode,
Mhm.
but the
It'll be
moment it's like
TV-14,
gore,
right?
yeah.
I think because like Wheel of
If,
Time, for
if
example,
they
had-
show him grab a grunt's head and just tear it open, then you'll probably get a mature
And then like confetti comes out.
They're not.
no,
gonna
because then
do
that's
that.
for kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
the games aren't
So
even
much for closing the
mature
topic.
anymore.
Like
Yeah,
the
no,
violence in
I
these
get
kind of TV shows doesn't need to be that brutal, but it can still be violent, right? Have you,
Yeah.
any of you guys seen Wheel of Time?
No.
Yeah,
No,
I've
nerd.
seen a episode like one
So
or
like
two.
Wheel of Time is pretty
And
violent,
episode.
but it's not brutal.
Yeah.
So like the violence never feels like oh god, like kind of like for example the last Suicide Squad movie. I was kind of taken aback by the violence a fair bit. It was really really
Yeah,
brutal.
like faces blown off, and you see the
Yeah.
face that's been blown
Yeah,
off.
I was like,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Anyways,
You're really
I-
soft, so I didn't realize that. Okay,
I
keep
don't know,
going.
man. I'm anyways. Okay,
but it was Pete Davidson, so I loved it. It was so
yeah,
good.
okay,
that it was
fair
him.
enough. But like then you
Thank
have a
you.
movie like Ninja Assassin, right, which is really violent, but it's fun, right? For the most part, it's
Yeah,
always
it's
having
like
fun
when
with
it's
it.
fantastical, right? Like
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
it's very choreographed feeling, and it's not that
Exactly.
visceral. Someone has taken a sniper rifle and put it through Pete Davidson's head, and you just see everything hanging down. Like yeah, it's
Like if Chief Sniper rifles someone and they just kind of like explode like, kind of far away, and you see like some like like
Purple
bunch of, like,
blood everywhere.
That's cool, right? And it's quick, it's visceral, and that's like action done well. In my opinion, I prefer that kind of action. And I think that's what Halo's going to be in terms of the gore.
What if they do a really long zoom in on a sniper shot jackal right in his eye, and you see all the little bugs in there, and yeah.
All
I
right,
think
we're
they can
gonna
get
move
away
on.
with purple
Next
blood.
topic.
Faces of Halo.
And next
Yeah.
on the list,
I think it's going to be PG-13 is my guess. That's just
Yeah,
like,
probably.
you're trying to get
Yeah,
get
it's
all
their
these good
prestige
stuff.
shows rarely go super graphic if
Yeah.
it's not HBO.
PG-13 always pulls more
Yeah.
than R. With the
Nope, even
budget
like
they're gonna put.
Netflix prestige shows do get pretty graphic. Witcher, for example, is a pretty graphic show.
Yeah, I mean you can still
Well,
have
not
violence.
that bad, right?
You can have violence. Okay, we're going to go to the next topic.
Big
All
fan.
right, this one
Otherwise
should
we'll
be
till 11.
yeah. This one shouldn't take too long. We're going to talk about Big Team. It's supposedly
You always
fixed.
say that. Stop saying that.
I know. I jinx us every time I do that. Big Team. It's supposedly fixed. Who here has had a chance to play it? Try it.
And
So, everybody. Okay.
I joined some looking for groups, and there was like 8 people, and it worked.
Wow.
Perfectly fine. Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Nobody
fine.
had any issues. Okay.
I still low
Nope,
queued
I
one
did
game and it
solo.
worked perfectly fine. Next topic.
yeah, I did solo
Yeah,
and
we-
team. Worked fine.
Yeah, and they also fixed not completely, but if you queue up as a group, you would like just your fire team would get separated. Your fire team is still separated, but now the colors match, so
Yeah.
you know who's in your
Yes.
team in the middle of the game, which is nice.
Yeah, that is. These are some nice additions. I honestly, I didn't realize how much I missed it until it came back. I'm more of an arena type of person myself. Oh, it's 4 minutes. You're going to
2,000 hours.
I
of
was
arena.
going to ask if Jesse Soul and Daniel, if you guys had played more than just a couple of games, did y'all notice they said that they made changes to the frequency of like tanks? And
I
raids?
noticed that the second game I played.
I
Like, a
did
tank
not
drop-
notice it the one that I played in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a
Honestly,
tank
the
drop.
first- Go ahead, Aarsal.
Sorry, a tank dropped at 8 minutes. That has never happened before, ever in a 12-minute
That's
match.
pretty quick.
Ever. Usually it drops at like 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 at the very, very ending. In fact, and then we had another Wraith drop at like 6, and then another Scorpion at like 3. So no, they were they were coming in pretty fast.
My first match, we didn't have any, but I think I'm trying to remember how quickly it was. It was the Power Seeds one.
Oh
I
god.
remember
Oh,
that.
good lord!
Or the-
That, you
I
might as well
enjoy
make
it.
it.
You guys are silly.
If people know what to do, it's a really fun mode. It's only annoying
Yeah,
because
if-
so
and
often
which
people
most
just
people
ignore
don't.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right,
Most people
right.
are like, what?
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, it's really cool. You can sneak in, even steal stuff, screw with them. You know what I mean? But most people don't.
Anyway, the second
that's
match,
not my view.
yeah, we did get several tanks.
It could be
Okay.
the game type maybe affects it too.
Mhm.
You know, I played CTF. It's the one where I had a bunch of tanks pop up, so that could be
Okay.
part of it.
Yeah,
Well, you
I
imagine that it makes more sense in a mode like CTF with one singular objective that moves. I guess 2 if you count like both teams' flags. But
Mm.
with all of the power seeds laying around, there's like 12 power seeds at once. It seems like I feel like
Fish and barrel probably.
big right
Yeah.
right big
Yeah.
vehicles like
Yeah.
that would make that crazy.
But you're right, Abe. I kind of surprised me how much I missed it. Just playing these maps I hadn't played in for a while. You know what I mean? A bunch of vehicles and just the chaotic fun of it, because you can survive a lot in big team battle because you just line of sight the guy shooting you from like a mile away.
it's a good casual mode. Like if you're just not in the mood, like that's the most casual thing they have there. So if you're just not in the mood to
Yeah.
get super sweaty, or like, and especially with some, we won't get too deep into the desync stuff. But when you get the desync, it feels a lot worse when you're in a competitive game,
Yep.
especially after the match and everybody's messaging you like, well, how did you get that ranking? You suck. You're the worst diamond I've ever seen. Which is what happens when you get a decent game.
It just shows the screenshot, man.
You want me
Abe's
to,
like-
I actually saved some of the clips. They're pretty funny. Yeah, so I probably could take.
Abe's just like, it's the old man handicap.
They started
Oh
me at
my-
a gold 5.
I swear, you guys don't even know what's going on, and here I am shooting from across the map.
I don't need to hear about him shooting.
Yeah, but it's gonna be good to get the group, the big bands back together over the
Yes,
weekend.
it does mean we can get like a nice community night going again, right?
Yeah, one of you guys can set up a community night.
Yeah, I definitely can.
We
We
just
probably
need to
should.
do a group BTB.
Like just us, right? Yeah, we haven't even played together really much.
I'm
You know,
always
but
busy
that-
doing reviews.
Your
That's my excuse for it.
shoddy portals.
Oh yeah, I mean the good thing about BTB is that Soul has no control over the game types.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that is the one thing that I thought that Halo Infinite was going to have for it as a free to play game that no other game has right now is that that 12 team to get 12 people together on the same team and just be able to chat together, be on the same team, talk,
And there's enough
strategize
downtime
together.
where you don't always
Yeah.
feel stressed. That's the
Right.
thing about Arena is
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah.
stressed all the time because you have to be on, and that's kind of what I hit with Titanfall 2 a lot. Is it the maps were a little smaller and things were always very stressful.
Yes.
It ends up
Yeah.
like even with Overwatch, which I played a ton of. It's just everything's always condensed and you're always in the action, and that can be
Yeah.
good for
Yeah.
if you're going to play a little. But if you're going to play a lot, that's why I love Battlefield and Battlefield 5 especially, not 2042. That game sucks. Yeah, the base could be so friggin' good. That's why it's so annoying. Like the base of 2042 is excellent. But yeah, but Halo Big Team Battle is the first time, in Infinite especially, is the first time I've really enjoyed playing it because I'm not constantly having to go. And I'm decent at Arena.
Yeah.
But I play 2-3 matches and then I'm like, all right, I'm fine. I got to go review some dumb game anyways. But with Big Team Battle, I find myself actually just wanting to keep going and playing with other people, even though most people
Or what?
are very annoying.
He's censoring himself.
but yeah, I think it's a shame that it wasn't available over Christmas, and I think that was a huge miss. It is the thing that separates it, and for me, like it's nice to get on there. You get on there with a lot of people. You go play Big Team Battle for about a couple hours, and then eventually your group shrinks throughout the night, and then you go hop in Arena, right, and you compete. And I think that sort of ebb and flow, that start and stop, that is been missing from it. Just a little bit more of the variety. It's just been one speed all the time.
Aarsal.
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
but then my house has a whole bunch of Google Homes and a whole bunch of smart lights, and my brother or his wife keeps saying, "Hey, Google, dim the lights." Wait, okay, I don't have a Google Home. And then it dims all the damn lights in the house. Or while I'm sleeping, it just turns on, and I'm like, "Come on!"
See, if you're in
So,
America, we always have guns, so we just look at the bulb and just shoot it.
I forgot he's a Canadian. He's drinking Tim
Yeah,
Hortons.
like you got your pillow
Hey,
gun,
so are you
and
one
you've
day.
got your under the
I know.
blanket or the mattress
Hey,
gun.
could you
got
turn the lights
4
back up,
closet
eh?
guns.
That was my Tim Hortons.
Yeah, there it is. We got the fancy cups now, though. They have the little Canadian logo on them.
Oh.
You know, the
Look
colors
at-
on them.
yeah.
Sorry,
They
bud.
give us Americans just these piece of crap lids that just. I mean, this is like you don't
I didn't
ever
even
want to
get a
wear
cup
white.
with it.
Yeah, you don't ever want to wear a white shirt when you're drinking a Tim Hortons here in America.
Oh, yeah.
When you go through one down here in Florida, they just pour the coffee right on your lap.
Oh, we lost Abe.
Oh,
Wait, there's no way there's a Tim Hortons in Florida, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. All right.
No, it doesn't
Oh,
go.
boy,
Okay,
I'm
cool.
blind.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's
maybe-
not too much to talk about with Big Team Battle, right? I mean, in the sense that it's the mode's still the
It
same. It's
works.
working now.
It's
Exactly.
such a bummer that it works out that way, right? Where like all
Yeah.
we do, and not us specifically, but like people complain that it doesn't work, and then as soon as it's done, it's like, cool, good job, guys, and then they just find
Oh,
another thing to
good
start
job?
complaining
No,
about,
no.
Oh, you say,
that's,
yeah, they just pivot to another bitching.
right?
Yeah, it's a fun mode. I want to play it more often. That's about all I can really say about it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it was nice even just seeing some tweaks to it, though, right? Like you're talking about, like the tanks
That's
and like
true, yeah.
being able to see your team in there. And for me, that maybe is one of the bigger takeaways too. It's like, oh, that's right. This game is. You forget that this game is going to be evolving a lot over the year, and it hasn't evolved hardly at all. Actually, it's devolved since it launched in the beta form. So, I think that's the one thing that it's almost it's kind of. The base is so damn good that if they can get, and I guess maybe that's a way to tie into the rest of this, right? We're going to talk about the roadmap now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the roadmap, because I think that takes us into there. So we've had very few updates so far. Obviously, no new maps since it came out. There is a total of what is it? How many maps do we have?
7 arena, 3 big team.
7 arena, yeah, 10 maps altogether, right? And one of them is really bad. But anyways, so the base of this game is so good, and you can just see it going in so many different places. But I think right now you can feel that frustration, and I think it is because it's two things. It's not because people don't like Halo. They really do like Halo Infinite, what the foundation is, but I think that you can kind of feel some of the shortness in terms of the lack of patience, right? And but I want to try to get some of your guys' thoughts about the roadmap and where it is, and what what you think might be coming up next, and all that. So Jesse, I'll turn it over to you. You always like to dig around. What's kind of your thoughts?
The fact that they waited until a day after the month they said it was going to show up means I think things are a little behind.
Mm-hmm.
By little, I mean a lot. So I'm really not expecting any big updates anytime soon. It makes me kind of question just when exactly season 2, if it ends up being the same thing, if they sort of push off almost any changes until season 2, or like additions, if it's just tweaks and fixes and fixing up the store and stuff they can do outside of content until season 2. And then season 2 is a lot bigger than it would have been otherwise, because they've also talked in the past that season 1 works on the challenge system. Like they specifically said season 1 works on that. So I do wonder, is season 2 going to be the experience system? Are they going to have your stats be surfaceable in the game instead of through the API on websites like Halo Tracker? What is co-op going to end up being? Is it going to be just 4 Master Chiefs and they figure out a way to tether it better and people progress in all 4 can progress the same way? Because that was the thing. Like you play Far Cry, you bring your character in, they keep their guns and stuff, but they don't get any progress on the main campaign, any of that. And they said that's what they wanted to avoid. They wanted, so like you play, you progress. So is that ready? What year does Forge come out? Is it 2028? Like I don't. I am really curious what their timeline is going to end up being, because they've been so quiet in the month they said they were going to let us know everything, that it just feels like things are going to be even further delayed and people will just be getting more and more annoyed.
Yeah, I think people are forgetting to, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but where I work, we were scheduled to start moving back to the lab, or where I work, and that got delayed significantly because of Omicron. So I know several people that I talked to over 343 have said the same thing. So,
goddamn Nomad Soul.
We can talk about how, things have gotten better with work from home, but there's still a lot of things that are just so much slower to do from home than in the office, with
like QA
working on the same network. Yeah, working on the same network, having access to the same exact build immediately, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we're in year 2 of the pandemic, and until a decent amount of the population starts getting vaccinated and all this other kind of crap that they're not doing, then it's going to stay the way it is. So.
Yeah, but wasn't it just Denmark said, hey, it's all fine, we're getting rid of all restrictions, one of those countries? And to do that, they fudge their numbers. They just don't bother saying who's actually in the ICU anymore, so they can pretend the ICUs are fine. So it's over.
Right.
We're good. Yeah. We're all healthy.
Well, I also wonder how
for a second.
I do also wonder how easy it is for them to onboard new people right now, because of You know, they obviously relied on a lot of contractors. It went a year over what was expected.
Mm-hmm.
And then from what I understand from talking to, developer friend is there is a really high demand right now. So like, it's not easy for a AAA studios to say, just because we want to hire, another 100 people that you just snap your fingers and they're going to be there. Right. Like right now it's tough to, they're fighting, especially with all of this investment that's coming into the industry. A lot of these guys are leaving the big studios and going to smaller startups and things like that. And, that's what I was told is, especially with some of the opportunity out there. And yeah, so I do think there's going to be some challenges for all of the big ones. And we saw that with, it was even worse for EA and for Activision, right? Like they're both struggling. And I think it is worth keeping that in mind. Still,
even Call of Duty is still not anywhere near where it should be, in my experience from playing. So
yeah, and Warzone had a bunch of issues, right? Like that. Mm-hmm. I didn't play it, so I don't play Warzone. But go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna briefly comment that like I have a family member who plays Warzone on a base Xbox One or Xbox One S, and he says it's completely unplayable right now.
Yeah,
I've been hearing that across the board for any last gen platform that game is on. It's unplayable.
Yep.
Raven Software are the main devs, and they were on strike for a while over all their QA getting fired.
Right.
So
understandably. Yep.
Also, for reference,
understandably on strike, not.
Yeah. Warzone is the second most played game on Xbox in the States.
Yep.
Yeah.
Activision's gonna.
One thing they haven't stopped doing is getting those microtransactions up.
Mm-hmm.
Those keep going.
I'm sure.
But I think it's a good call out though, Daniel. I think because if you think about the games that aren't struggling right now, they've been established for a long time, right? Like, and they haven't done any major.
And they're usually smaller packages, like single player only and things like that.
Yeah, well, even the your multiplayer games, the ones that are
Apex
still
Legends.
way up there.
Well, if you look at Destiny 2, they haven't added a PvP map in how long? Because they are just focused on their the PvE side of
the
stuff.
Content people play.
It seems really hard for anyone right now to keep everything going outside of Fortnite, which is because they work their people to death, and their entire freaking thing is built for this puppy mill of content, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to kind of comment on that as far as the roadmap stuff goes. Like, it's such a bummer that people just can't appreciate the stresses that the way the world works right now puts on people. Like the problem that we have right now with all of this anticipation around a roadmap is that people are acting and especially I'll say it straight up, living here in Texas where our governor is banned COVID restrictions. It's like it never happened here right now. So when you have a good percentage of any player population that has this mindset, it's understandable that people are frustrated for the wrong reasons. You're not mad that the game isn't working. You're mad because you're not getting it as quickly as you want it. But I'm sorry, man, but that's not how the world's working right now. The roadmap is going to come when it's ready to come. We're going to get cool new content when it's ready. But because of work from home and thousands of people still dying every day, it's going to take a while. And I think if developers could separate fan angst from actually making proper criticism and making quality content on a time frame that works out for them and not for their their irate fans, I think that gaming in general would be probably a little bit more enjoyable for everybody right now.
There's another factor that's kind of spreading throughout the gaming industry right now, which whenever it comes up online, everyone online champions it. They're like, yes, that's amazing. I'm talking about not crunching developers, not killing your workforce, right? Which has been the gaming norm for the last 20 years, more probably, to be honest. And now we're finally seeing us developers or workers or contract workers say, hey, you know what? No, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not doing it this bad. And studios going, okay, we hear you. We're going to try and limit it. I'm not saying they've completely limited it. I know 343 have said many times they've tried it and limited crunch, made it a healthier pace, blah, blah, blah. Well, healthier pace means slower. Honestly, that's what it means. It means content is not going to come out as fast as you are used to, because that in the past, it was not a healthy pace. It was the exact opposite, right? So you'll see these people champion it when it's brought up, like, yes, don't remove crunch. But when the actual effects of a healthier pace or a healthier work environment come into play, they're like, what the heck? Why is this taking forever? I can't believe I saw a funny complaint. So, you know, the visor in Halo Infinite is a little over, right? One of the digital visors. Now that I've said this, you're never going to unsee it. But one of the digital visors is like a frame or two off center. And 343 commented one of the things like, oh yeah, we'll fix this by the time season 2 launches. And all the comments were like, it takes you 6 months or 3 months to fix 2 frames over. No, it doesn't. They put it in the queue. They put it behind a bunch of other crap that's actually important. Right. And then eventually it gets done. They're just giving you the time frame where it's going to get fixed. You know, like basic work stuff. I haven't even worked in like a proper professional environment yet, and I know this. You know what I mean?
And he looks like it. You can tell. He's telling the truth. Because who goes to work like that?
And you can look like what broke Big Team Battle. It wasn't anything to do with Big Team Battle. It was a playlist change. They added in some playlists, and it broke Big Team Battle.
Which they told us was going to happen. They're like, the reason we haven't done this is because it might break something. And then they did it for like everyone that was flipping out because SWAT wasn't in the game.
Like Nick. And then they did it for Nick. Blame Nick.
It's Nick's fault. Most shit is Nick's fault. I don't know why he's not canceled.
You had the mode that come out with attrition. We played it for 2 weeks. We all had a good time. Now it's gone. It'll come back again in a couple of weeks. That's okay. You know, like
I
really liked attrition. I really liked attrition too. Super quick matches.
What I wanted to say was, you know, to add on to Forebear's point is that I think people just need to have a little bit more empathy and grace right now, because like you guys said, you know, you can't say, hey, I'm against crunch and then expect people to crunch in a pandemic to get you content. They're conflicting ideals. And then in addition to that, we are still seeing, you know, people die every day in massive numbers, and the people that make our games are people as well. They have family members who've gotten sick. They've got family members who die. They're going through normal struggles just like we do. So I think it's
not just COVID, right? People are like, oh, look, the number of COVID cases isn't that high, or it's not as severe. Yes, it's not as severe. Guess what? They clog up the hospitals, which clogs up surgeries, which clogs up a bunch of important crap.
Other, like, think about the people who have autoimmune disorders. I mean, my wife has an autoimmune disorder. And so it's like, luckily we've been hunkered down so much that we've been lucky to avoid it. But if something were to happen with her illness and we have to go into the hospital where it's loaded with people with COVID, like, that's terrifying to me. So I think it's important for people to just take a freaking moment to reflect on what's actually happening in the world and
just perspective, right?
Just perspective. I mean, like, everything is going to come out slower at this point, and you know, at this point too, with things like Game Pass, I honestly don't know why people are so upset, because we've never had so much content, period. And
it's not like we're the launch of the N64 right now.
Right. Oh, God.
What did you get? You got Super Mario and
for like 10 years.
Well, God, the Switch had a very similar launch. But anyway, and like Abe, like you were saying earlier, like, it's people that are competent developers are a highly sought after commodity right now. It's not, and I hate hearing like, well, Microsoft just spent $70 billion on Activision. They should be able to throw more money at their like flagship IP. It's like, sure, and they are. I promise you, they are. But like, you can't exactly. You can't create people. You can't onboard, like, again, something else that you guys were saying earlier. It's hard to onboard new people to these systems. I've recently gotten into playing around with a lot of the mod tools that they released for the MCC. And it's a really cool engine. It's been a lot of fun, like, relearning some of that stuff and learning it for the newer games. The version of the engine that exists for Infinite has been so wildly tweaked that, like, even if you were a Halo 3 modder for the last decade, it's a completely new tool set. Like, at its core, it's still blam or whatever, but like, it's unbelievable.
It's new enough to be considered a new engine.
Right.
Really quick about the roadmap. At least personally, I'm definitely, I guess, not in the majority of online opinion. I say I played a lot of League of Legends in the past, like a lot, like hours after days and days, and that was one map and maybe like a pool of like 10 characters I played. and it was the exact same thing again and again and again. So for me, it's I hear all the requests about new maps, new content, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm still having like a lot of fun. I played Halo right now, right before we got on. And I wanted to keep playing because I'm like, man, I gotta get on in 20 minutes. I think I can get one more match in, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think the solution to I'm not having fun anymore, I need new content, is to just shove in more maps. I think it's, hey, you played it for like 300, 400, 500 games. That's okay. That's a lot of time to play Halo.
There's other content out there.
Exactly. And then, hey, come back when they add other stuff that's new or interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand the mentality where it's like you have to play this one thing and nothing else. Even flipping Fortnite, I know they make a bunch of changes, but in the day, it's still Battle Royale. And the map lasts usually, what, like 6-7 months, I think, in Fortnite?
Yeah.
Probably more.
Well, gosh,
if I
when
don't-
Fortnite first released, like it was almost a full year before they ever tweaked that map.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was played like crazy. So
Yeah.
I don't think new maps is the magic solution people are looking for. I think in general, it's just arena shooters are not that mainstream. They are still mainstream. Wouldn't be top 5 played if it wasn't, right? But as an arena shooter, you're not going to hit Fortnite levels or Apex levels. And I'm okay with that personally. You know what I mean? Because I enjoy arena shooters. I don't like Fortnite.
And Apex also
dare you.
dipped really hard. It took them
Yeah.
a while to get
Yeah.
a constant flow of content and
Yeah.
players. They had really severe dips early on in their existence.
Yeah,
Sea
because
of
they
Thieves.
directly said, I would say they directly said, we are not going to be Epic. We are not going to
Yep.
crunch our developers to death to put out new content every week or every 2 weeks or whatever it is, you know.
I think something that makes a lot of sense to compare Halo Infinite to right now is the way that Rainbow Six Siege launched, where like
Yeah.
it was in a really rough space. It didn't succeed at all out the gate. Had a very tight knit community that stuck with it, and now it's one of the biggest esports titles out there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I
Foundation.
I feel like exactly a way
Yeah.
better foundation.
Yeah.
I think this, like any games as a service, like any live game, just needs time to evolve and to expand.
Mhm.
To get his feet, right? And Apex, same thing. Fortnite, same thing. The first few battle passes for Apex and Fortnite were not good. In fact, it took Fortnite like 4 battle passes to get like the cool fancy stuff that people really wanted. You know?
Well, and if we're being really specific, Fortnite was originally a tower defense PvE
Yes.
shooter.
Right. They only switched when PUBG got popular.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's people. I feel like Halo Excel is also super polarizing for whatever reason. It's the fans hate this series, God, and they'll make sure
Well,
everyone knows.
to be fair, I do think that it comes from a couple different spots. I think, love it or not, it is the face of the Xbox platform, and I feel like a lot of people put their identity into the success of Halo for whatever reason, and they just feel like 343 is letting them down. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. They and let's be fair, all of us wanted to see Halo at the top and see that it really come back, do really well, bring in everybody, be that game again. And I'm going to say I still think there is a possibility that it's going to. I've said this before. I think once that content does start coming out, it's at the end of 2022. Could have a much bigger player base than what they had peaked in 21.
I expect it to, especially with whatever new modes coming out. You know what I mean?
Especially if you get some things in there for the casuals, some more, some more casual content, just some more, that you just jump on.
And fix like the PC related issues, like desync, I know, and cheating is more prevalent in PC from what I know, especially cheating.
Yeah.
That needs to be addressed pretty quickly.
Well, it's still top 5, and they've already had 20 million. So I think it's
again, this game did great.
Yeah, for a lot of the naysaying, it's definitely nowhere. The reality does not match with the online discourse.
No, I think there is this anxiety though in the community. It's like, well, if they don't get it together, everybody's going to leave. And, yeah, right. But there's this there's fear that that everybody's going to leave, and then Halo's going to be dead, and that's not going to happen. But I think that's where it comes from, right? And I think that's the thing to realize is when people are freaking out, they're thinking that 343 is going to somehow kill Halo if they don't find the solution in the next few weeks, and that's not the case. We've seen it in if there's any company that understands how to run these types of games, we see Microsoft does. Sea of Thieves launched to a 60, 69, nice. Less than that. Okay, whatever.
Can I just say really quick? I think the success of most of these games, like Sea of Thieves, proves how irrelevant Metacritic is.
Yes,
right. But I mean, it launched. It launched a little bit of a thud, right? It came out, but it had that base, and this has, I say, a bigger base than Sea of Thieves. This has a bigger base. That core foundation is bigger than I think Rainbow Six was. So when they start to get some of these things working the way they should be, I think it is because of where the foundation is. It is in a really good spot long term, and I think people just need to like you're mentioning, have a little perspective with the developer situation. Beating them up online is not going to make things go better. If anything, it's going to get them to do something that they probably regret doing, like pump out some extra content before going on vacation, right? And honestly, if they didn't do that, I would say the game would be in a much better state today, because you would have had big team battle over the holidays, which would have allowed a lot of casual players to
like SWAT and SWAT and FFA are not that big game modes. You know what I mean?
No, they're not.
No,
and SWAT would have still came, I think, with this event, right? That we just had. So it's
yeah, it was. I mean, hindsight, right? Hindsight is.
Yeah, and I do agree with you, Abe. They obviously, I'm not saying it's perfect. There's still a bunch of issues that need to be ironed out. And I would not say no to more maps, right? Assuming their quality is up to par.
Right.
I'm just saying I don't feel the desperate need for. I know a lot of people think there's Thief 3 have like a desperate need. Do this immediately, or your game's gonna crash and burn. I don't see that. In fact, I think that's almost complete misinformation. There's this prevailing internet thought out there that it's like this game is dying. Not even dying. There's people saying the game is dead. What are they looking at? Looking at Steam numbers. That's it. That's the only thing they're looking at. Nothing else. Yes, the game's not doing as well on PC as it should be. I'm assuming part of that's because of like the rampant cheating, which is surprisingly
even if
on
you're
PC.
just looking at Steam, you're still looking at a very small portion of potential players on PC.
That's not even all of exactly.
I mean, it's a stupid argument. It's just stupid. We shouldn't give it any ear. I'm sorry. But it's just dumb.
I know some people were like,
as a data guy,
surprised to see, this game got 20 million players. I guess that's not bad. It's not even not bad. It's really damn good. I don't remember what Apex got. I think it was 20 million, by the way, in the first couple weeks or the first month.
That was That was on everything, right?
And the other thing, 40.
What do they say? Destiny gets how many players per month? And
they're hovering around. Destiny's hovering around 1 to 2 million average players per month. Yeah, even in a slower season right now.
And for reference, I believe the numbers they gave was like 275. It was either 275 or 375,000 on Xbox users concurrently. And Destiny's often around like position 9 or 10 in most played in Xbox. Halo's usually 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Right. So for reference, it's both of those games are doing pretty damn healthy.
Yeah. So obviously, we all acknowledge, we acknowledge. No, you don't acknowledge that. We don't care. But we all acknowledge that there is challenges, right? Like this isn't to say there isn't things to be frustrated with. It's just have a little bit of perspective in with the developers, especially if you're going to communicate with them and start talking about priorities. Just realize the situation that they're in. And you look around, look at some of the other AAA games that have tried to release stuff that are gas games as a service, need to be updated regularly. How some of them are faring. It is really kind of it is kind of industry wide right now. But
it's like you said, Abe, the difference between good faith criticism versus
just
stockpiling,
tone deaf,
3 for 3 haters.
Not even just 343 haters, but people who do not appreciate how everything has changed right now in the industry. Yeah, it's just that simple.
Also, if you're not having fun with Halo anymore, just play something else.
Right?
Like, honestly,
it'd be alive,
guy. I'm bouncing all over the place. Like
there's even another Halo game you can go play if you really want to.
Yeah. Hey, and there's one that Abe has 2,000 hours on.
Right. Yeah. So how am I going to get 2,000 hours if I don't play this every day? I don't think that's a solution.
Aren't you like already?
Abe, you're not supposed to get 2,000 hours in the first month.
Abe,
okay, it's okay.
Today when I booted Infinte up, I did take a peek at some people's like stats. Yeah. Abe has by far the most amount of multiplayer games that have been in my friends so far. At like 800 games.
Yeah,
Jesus.
800 was a lot, right? And then today I was in LFG for a bit, and I always just check my ranks of the people I'm with. One guy had 1,800 games. Matchmaking.
Is this really an intervention? And we just nobody told me for Abe. Like,
Yeah, we're an hour and a half in, and we got to say, time to stop.
But yeah,
play something else. Go beat another game on Game Pass. Yeah, no, you know what? Out of those 800 games, I probably bitched about desync in 700 of them. But it's the 100 that worked well that brought me back.
yep.
So real quick, so we talked about that. Obviously, there's some opportunities. I am curious, what are you guys hoping though when we do get the roadmap? What are some of the things that you realistically, and let's be realistic about it. Like we're not going to expect some massive mode to drop in March, right? But what are some of the realistic things that you are hoping to see them talk about? And what are some areas that you'd like to see some more communication on? I'll go ahead. Co-op.
Co-op.
All right.
Co-op.
Forebear.
I think. I mean, I'm trying not to play the game a little too much. Like, I genuinely don't think that we'll see a season 2 until probably July, which is a bummer, and that's like way further out than what they kind of anticipated. But
you
think
think it'll be delayed from the May release date?
Yeah,
I mean, Battlefields was.
I think it's intelligent. I think it's the right move. I think that you can do one of two things, which is to keep like the May date that isn't even like an official date, and not launch with a lot of the stuff that they were hoping that they could launch with, or delay it a little bit.
Official, right? I mean, you have the countdown inside the game constantly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is counting down to a date. But I don't feel like they've even put like right. I don't think that they've put like a hard date on it. I don't think that they've talked about season 2 launches on
season 1 has an end date, but you're saying season 2 doesn't necessarily have a hard launch date.
Right. I think that they either put it out and give us, a few modes and some new cosmetics and maybe a new map or two. But I think the thing that people are really looking forward to as far as season 2 is concerned right now is co-op. And I think just pushing out season 2 altogether and saying like, hey, we're going to lose a little bit of like fan trust by delaying, but it will come with the stuff that we told you it will come with. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they make the right call as far as like, unfortunately having to upkeep like community goodwill or whatever. I just hope that whenever it does come, realistically, a couple new modes, maybe even ones that are already like in API, I'd be fine with that.
Like Infection.
2 new maps and co-op. That's all I'd be I'd be over the moon about that.
Yeah, just to give people something to hang on. I think a lot of it really comes down to the communication. I think that was maybe the biggest mistake of the last couple of weeks is, if anybody who's ever done anything in customer service in a job anywhere, I don't care what level it's been at, that usually the longer you make somebody wait to get an answer, they get the bad news.
Right.
the worse they're going to take it, the worse they expect that bad news to be. If you can get in front of it and you can just be really transparent about it and just say, hey, look, this is what it is. People are going to get pissed off. They're going to yell at you on Twitter for a day. But I think it's important the faster you get out in front of it. And I think you're right, though, Forebear, that when the official date of season 2 comes, people expect the co-op. I think they're in a weird spot because you got to communicate, but at the same time, you can't overpromise. Right, because that's where they get into this. Yeah, and that's the biggest challenge. And I feel like they continue to. That's still something they got to learn a little bit. It's like, okay, if you're going to cut this close, give yourself some more room. Give yourself some buffer. I've heard from people that played Sea of Thieves, which I never. I played like 2 games, and I went fishing. I didn't do really good. But I heard from people that played that a lot. That they used to kept. They put out roadmaps and then they'd miss everything and then they put out a new roadmap and after a while it was just like, why? I don't know. I bet somebody told me.
Fallout 76 has definitely been the worst about it.
That person was a liar.
Well, 76 is kind of a weird spot in between where they have a roadmap. The problem is that they don't tell you very soon about when that roadmap is changed. But in general, they do a better job of most games, I think. As both a 76 and a Sea of Thieves like Acolyte, who's played a lot of those, I think Sea of Thieves is definitely far better. Like they're more likely to not tell you, and then give you a video of what's coming. Like I don't recall a single time where they've promised something that was coming and it hasn't come.
Okay.
But
You know
the
better
76 is definitely an example of that for sure.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, like to both your guys' point, I think co-op has to come with the start of season 2, even if season 2 is delayed, just because that's the expectation that's already been set, and because
since Soul is walking away, I think you're right, Daniel. I think a big important point is that they're obviously restructuring and replanning a lot of the things that are coming. Maybe not necessarily season 2, maybe just the date for season 2, but with things that are coming after. I think that a lot of those plans are changing, and for the better. I think that it's only going to make the game healthier as time goes on.
Yeah, I think having the roadmap now, I think the things that we need to they need to focus on are, I would love a new map, and I would love maybe a couple new maps. But I saved a tweet thread from some of my favorite developers the other day that I communicate with a lot, and it was basically like the gist was people don't realize how much of game development is literally building upon a house of cards, as we saw when they added a couple playlists, right? You add a couple things and you won't know what's broken until after. I mean, development is, I saw another one too. It was basically like people don't realize that development is just basically like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right.
And so for me, the roadmap has to be, okay, here's our plan for fixing desync. Here's our plan for fixing, this issue. Here's our plan for when you can expect to be able to disable crossplay, universally, or even if it's something that you have to elect after the fact, just like Sea of Thieves does. And then, okay, here's when we can kind of expect, co-op season 2, and to Abe's point about the popularity, like Forge isn't as popular as the other components of Halo, but it's still very popular. And so I think the longevity of the game is dependent on how quickly Forge can get out. So even if it's not at the start of season 2, maybe if it's the start of season 3, if that ends up being November or something, if it can get out this year, and we can see that on a roadmap, even if it slightly changes down the road, just knowing we can expect something at that point, I think, will be beneficial.
Or would the roadmap say what this certain affinity mode is?
No,
they wouldn't show in the roadmap. They'll say something like
just
surprises later this year.
Right. I think the same thing goes with like campaign expansions. Like we're not going to hear about a campaign expansion until next summer at the earliest.
What do you think, Jesse? Do you think we're going to hear about that mode?
No,
Soon?
not at all.
No. Yeah.
Well,
It's like
I love the question.
Yes. Yeah.
You're
It's
just like dangled carrot.
What did
okay.
you hear? Yeah. I think that's.
I don't think through season 2 will be more than a month after May. Right now, May 2nd is the end date of season 1, and this is after they already extended season 1 3 months to give themselves more time to work on things. I mean, their original roadmap, the original plan.
Omicron.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I don't think it put them 3 whole months behind, but I hope not. Not from their original plans.
David Bowie has that effect.
They did decouple co-op at season 2, though. So I'm not expecting co-op with season 2 itself. It might be a little earlier, it might be a little after. I'm not certain, but I'm not sure if I tie those two things together. And I expect to see the mode at E3, I think.
Does anybody else think that we're completely underrating the potential that Forge is going to have in the future? I
haven't gotten to,
like you said, it's
that,
like the Minecraft and Halo. So it's
that's
well, and like what, especially what little we saw of Forge in the flights, like that stuff that wasn't intended to get out but did. It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. Like there's full on like Unreal Engine style blueprint scripting in Infinite's Forge. It's going to do bananas things for this game.
And people also are I'm assuming it's going to be free to play, right? And that's the difference, I think, in this Forge and anything that we've had in the Halo Forge before, because not only are you going to have a more robust engine, you're going to have all of the PC world, which is I mean, that's probably that's a lot of these things are going to be built on PC, and then you add into the free to play element. So it's somebody who's maybe doesn't want to buy it. In the past, they would have had to spend $60 on Halo. They can just jump right in and start messing around with it and start building stuff. I know there's people that build and don't like to really play. They just like to build it,
Yep.
And that's going to be very interesting to kind of see what sort of things people come up with. And that's why I say, I get it. Like as customers, you don't have to be satisfied. Nobody's telling you to come back and play the game every day. It's a free to play game, but you don't need to come back and give them your time right now. You can go play other things. But if you are somebody who's just yelling because you think it's going to die, I don't see that. I think this game is going to get, it's going to get a soft reboot when it does.
The numbers.
Yeah, and for the state that it's in to still be getting those numbers is kind. That's
every season in a game like this is a soft launch. It's a relaunch of the game.
100%.
Look at Chapter 3 of Fortnite, right? It immediately increased awareness again. I heard of it. I hadn't followed Fortnite for like years.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Bungie just put out numbers that the Witch Queen is is on track to be the most pre-ordered. It's currently sitting at over 1 million pre-orders, and there's a healthy chunk of the Destiny population that doesn't pre-order the game. So like stuff like this is, like Jesse said, a soft launch every season.
Well, hopefully they can get their damn review codes out at launch this time.
I hope so.
Looking at you, Bungie.
I'm sure you're used to the community absolutely hating on developers as a Destiny fan. God, I've been on the subreddit only a little bit, but that's enough.
Oh, you think Halo's subreddit is poison? Oh my God.
Every fandom.
Oh
Yeah.
God,
No,
that's
for
for the
sure.
game is
For
something
sure.
else. I'll tell you that much.
Is Sony's are their PR guys going to be ready for that? They've never had to deal with
No,
right?
a Bungie community before.
They've never had to deal with the games as a service game.
Speaking
period.
of, Sony bought Bungie. That's tangibly related to Halo.
They did, but it doesn't change anything.
Anything.
All it does is give Bungie a better financial footing. So it's a good thing.
Great deal for Bungie.
Yeah.
Great.
Hey,
deal
Yeah,
for
I
Bungie.
agree,
Tencent
100%.
didn't buy 'em, so
I will say on that is I think that Sony is getting Bungie out of their Tencent agreement. I 100% think that a part of this this acquisition will be Sony giving Tencent their $50 million back,
That would make sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
or $500 million, whatever it was.
I mean, that's chump change at this point. They're paying that much per each developer right now.
More than that.
I've got to put this
Run
up
out
real
of cash,
quick.
though.
I've made this joke a lot, and I don't think anyone's going to get it. So this is why I keep saying the Nomad Soul and David Bowie whenever he says Omicron. That's all.
Oh my
I just gotta
god!
let people know.
Wow.
I just think of
Yeah.
Omicron, to be honest.
Callback. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
man.
I'm old.
Also, we actually do have some questions, by the way. Just going through the
Yep,
forum.
I got them ready to go. Oh,
All
you
right,
mean in
let's
chat
do that.
Or on the website.
Let's-
On the forum, I have some. In the
Okay.
chat, we had Faisal with the super chat a little while back.
we didn't call. I'm sorry, Faisal.
I said I talked to him in chat because I know you were going to miss it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But yes, he just said have a great show
I'm-
because he's a nice guy.
I'm the clunkiest host.
And he said they'll catch up after the Raptors
Thank you,
game.
thank you, Faisal. Appreciate it.
Canada represent.
Yeah, if you want to read them, Saul, I'll get them up on the screen for
Okay.
you to see.
I have the forum open. I think the first one's from Andrew, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So the
Andrew
first
Schmidt.
question is, hey guys, how soon do you reckon we start getting new maps? I really hope we get them before season 2 in May. I feel like we kind of
Season
covered
2.
this, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not expect maps
Season
before
2.
season 2.
I'm not
Yeah.
expecting any
I-
content.
I had a feeling that we might get 1 or 2 maps about halfway through this season, but I have completely flipped on that. I don't.
They've
think
got
this
maps
season-
really close to being done.
Yeah.
They've been
Mhm.
data mined. They've got the whole layout. They're not textured or anything. So
Mhm.
I don't think they're super far off.
Well-
The way things are, I don't think they're ahead of anything right now.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Next question. From Travis, Project Payne. Greetings to the distinguished council of all things Halo. Speaking of Halo, do you all plan on carrying on with this podcast now that Sony has purchased the franchise with their acquisition of Bungie, and Halo will now be moving over to PlayStation? Damn. Guess we got to.
Yes,
There
Uh,
there
as a
were a fair
byproduct-
amount of people who really thought that Sony bought Halo.
Oh yeah. Well, and when you have people like when you have outlets like the Sun, right? You know, it's only but the Halo makers.
Their headline that was like Xbox users are freaking out about it. Like,
Yeah, it's like
chill out, man. Like
Right.
the Onion.
Yes, but not the Onion.
No, they're more like the
unfortunately.
Babylon Bee because they're not actually funny.
I couldn't find. Yeah, there was just a run on. You just eBay is just full of Xboxes trying to be sold so they can go buy PlayStation.
Right.
Oi, you're a PlayStation fan now, ain't ya?
Really interesting.
There's more to that
acquisition.
question.
So I don't know if you
Yes,
saw my
there is.
tweet, but I was like, my tweet was like, well, just wait till they hear about Activision. So,
Oh, Jesus.
And Padre continues to say, and before you nerds get all actually with me, just know that it has to be true because I saw it on TV, Twitter, and YouTube, which is a trifecta of all that is real and honest reporting.
Fox News doesn't count, man.
The only three sources I trust are Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones,
Oh my God.
and
And
Joe Rogan.
Somebody's gonna clip you and get us all canceled. So,
You don't
How's it
trust
go?
Jordan Peterson? What's wrong with you?
Oh my god.
all right,
You know,
guys.
we're
let's
actually
move on.
all lobsters.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Okay,
That's freaking awful.
the next question is from Mort. Hey, Mort. Hello. Do you think Halo Infinite will be supported for a long time? Yes. Or will Sony
No.
hurry up and make a sequel to make it exclusive?
Did I hear you
I
say
know-
Sony?
I know they said these games will be kept multi-platform, but I don't trust them. What do you think? What?
Wait, I gotta
Here
read.
he's playing on the Sony owns
Everybody's-
Halo joke.
Is that all our questions are just sarcasm?
No, there's
we-
one
we
last
did-
one.
Got a bunch
One
of
last one.
comedians.
From good old Collingwood. Which I
He writes
keep
a
seeing his
lot.
questions on the main podcast, which is super cool. Nice to see him ask a question here. Hello, prospective Paramount Plus subscribers. I actually just got the year from
I got it
T-Mobile
for free
yesterday.
from T-Mobile.
God,
Yeah, boom.
Twilight Zone.
you know what? It's cool.
But it's
I got
the
a
one
laugh
with
on my face.
ads. It sucks.
Are we
Yes,
getting a
yeah,
free
yeah.
Paramount month with our Game Pass subscriptions?
Probably, I wouldn't be shocked.
I
if
wouldn't
that came.
doubt that they put a game perk in there.
Yeah, they've got their
Yeah.
$5 tier where you still get advertisements, and that's probably what they'll give away if you're a new customer. Bye, Soul.
I thought I could get away with it, but no, I don't think a ghoul. So,
Jeez, man.
anyways, his
You
question is a question about live services and Bungie. I am not an online gamer. I prefer single-player expansions myself. Plus, I am not a competitive person anyway. So, hence a question that is spawned from ignorance. I understand that both Destiny and Halo Infinite are games as a service. Is the implementation by 343 the same as Bungie? If it's not the same, how are they different? And if they are different, is Bungie doing a good job of it?
Bungie's
Forbear,
been
I
up
think
and down. I think Forbear would agree with me. They've had their ups, they've had their downs. They're in a much better cadence now with actual big story stuff happening, which did not used to happen outside of expansions. Like I thought the seasonal stuff for after Beyond Light was pretty darn good each season. It added in a new mode. It gave you something to do. It's
So
very time
Their
dated.
seasons have like story content too, like missions.
So
Very
so
little.
if I can jump on that, right? So that's been the problem in the past. So when they moved over to this seasonal model instead of doing like 2 small expansions every year, where you get now the one big expansion and then 4 seasons along with that is there was a cadence for a while where each season was like its own individual story and it wasn't very good and it wasn't very long. It was very short. Ever since the end of Forsaken, the last season of Shadowkeep's year tied really well into some of the threads that were posed in Beyond Light, and then every season since Beyond Light has led to the Witch Queen. Like Savathun was mentioned immediately
cool.
after you finish the Beyond Light campaign, and everything that has happened this year has led up to that.
Actual planning from Bungie in their story. It's
It's
crazy.
like 30 years in
It's
the
like a
making,
big
boys. We
pre-patch,
finally got
almost. Can you play the
Uh,
seasons or the story missions after the season ends? Like
Yes.
So this last year they tried a FOMO thing where like the season would happen once the season ended, that content went away. This year it is that the seasonal content lasts until the end of that expansion year. So when the Witch Queen releases, all of this year's seasonal content goes away.
Wait, but
Yeah,
that
all the
content's
stuff I
based on the
paid
Witch
for is
Queen.
gone forever. It was
All right,
not.
yeah,
It was.
so
It was bridging Forsaken to, or is bridging Beyond Light to Witch Queen.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So can I interject as somebody who's basically sworn Destiny off after
Of course.
playing like 4,000 hours between the first and second one, with my wife included? yeah, I don't think they've done a great job post Activision separation, ironically, because so much of the content has been driven by microtransactions. Like all the stuff that they would market, like the armor sets and all that kind of stuff, did not come with the battle pass. They did not come within the game. You would have to pay for that separately. So that was one thing that always pissed me off. The removal of content that you paid for is pretty unheard of in the industry. And so, combined with the fact that the narrative editions and things like that have just not felt that very, because Jesse mentioned there's a new mode every season, but each season it's really just a permutation of the same kind of like basic horde mode. Yeah.
What is Gambit again? I keep hearing about it, and I've played it a little bit. I can't remember.
Gambit is PvE VP mode.
Yeah.
Oh, so like multiple teams.
You fight NPCs, and then you occasionally fight each other. Like there's
and you're competing with other real people while fighting the NPCs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, correct. Imagine Dark Souls, but with Horde. So you can invade your.
You're doing a Horde mode, and then you get an invader every now and then.
Okay. Yeah. Or like pest control.
It's pretty fun.
Okay.
That sounds like a good mode for Halo.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, that's I
mean,
Gambit was the only time I liked a PvP thing in Destiny.
Right, because the balance is just terrible.
But plays great though. I played a lot of Destiny 2 on Stadia. I would just pop it up, play some PvP, and it actually played really damn well. Minus I keep getting killed by these stupid named weapons. How is the Thorn still being used in Destiny 2? God damn it!
They brought it back, man. I got it. It's good. Yeah.
How soon do Destiny seasons come out? I'm actually don't know.
Every 3 months is their cadence.
Okay.
And that's the thing is I think to answer the question that was posed, whether or not Bungie and the way that 343 will be handling it is vastly different in that I think that the seasons that we're going to be getting in Halo Infinite are obviously going to be PvP focused. We see that very strongly with their first push of this first season. It is very intentionally, maybe not from the get-go, but very intentionally separate from the campaign.
Yeah,
I think like campaign expansions. Right. I think the campaign expansions that will eventually come, you could not tell me that those aren't happening. I think that those will be marketed completely separately. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see like PvP modes be marketed with the seasons, you know?
Yeah, 100%. PvP modes and maps and things like that. But Destiny is more like a TV show now.
Yeah, Destiny's, they're both free to play, but they're both end up being very different in what they push. Destiny pushes the PvE stuff first and foremost. Halo's pushing PvP first and foremost, and then their PvE stuff is just to get you into Game Pass. Like you can buy it separate, but the PvP is to get you into the ecosystem at all. And the PvE is definitely a push for Game Pass.
For everyone who doesn't know, PvP is player versus player, PvE is player versus environment, so NPCs.
What the hell you're watching a video game podcast if you don't know that?
Everyone starts somewhere.
Destiny 2, it plays amazing. Honestly, it does. Like every time I put it on, I have a blast playing it. It just needs a better onboarding process. Honestly, I've tried with Beyond Light. I tried with with Forsaken.
Now that the beginning of the story is completely gone, there is no real onboarding process.
You watch YouTube videos.
They rebuilt the Cosmodrome with a little tiny.
Like I own Destiny 1, and I still go back and play it every once in a while. Like I played through it twice with a group of friends, and it was a lot of fun.
That was the worst thing Activision did was forcing a sequel, because I really loved where Destiny was in Rise of Iron. It's one of my favorite gaming experiences ever. My brother and I probably put 500 hours just into it after that freaking expansion came out. We loved it. Awesome. And then they got forced into a sequel they didn't really want to do.
I think one of the biggest disappointments for me as like just like everyone here, like a longtime Bungie fan, was coming off of Destiny 1 in the amazing place that the game was in. And having Destiny 2 basically was like Destiny 2 was such a reset. It felt like going back to D1 year one. Which was like the worst version of that game.
Yeah, it was like a developer who had en masse amnesia,
right.
All the lessons we learned from the first one, we're just going to throw
the exact same thing ended up happening with The Division, where The Division 2 at launch wasn't bad, but all the stuff they had done to make it really good for continually playing was just gone.
Yeah.
You beat The Division 2, and then that was kind of it. There really wasn't anything to do, and it took them 2 years to finally fix a lot of it.
And a lot of times that's because your service upkeep team is different from the team that's building the new game. Now, that doesn't excuse the lack of communication, but that's typically mechanically where that comes from.
Abe, have you ever played Destiny much? You've been really quiet the whole Destiny discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I played 30 hours. I don't know enough. I mean, anything I say is going to be inaccurate.
30 hours of Destiny is
30
like 5
divided by
minutes of any other game.
2,000.
It means
I mean,
nothing.
yeah, that's like equal to 5
You just
minutes
shut
of
up.
Halo for me. Yeah, I mean, that's
Less than 1% of your Halo 5 hours.
I don't know enough. It does feel good. The game.
If
feels
you're
really
mostly
good.
a PvP guy, Destiny's rough because you need to also be a PvE guy
Yeah.
to be able to get the things that really help you in the PvP.
I do not
Yeah.
envy Bungie there. It's so hard to balance PvP games where like the loot isn't different.
Well, it's like the fat bastard conundrum. It's like I play PvP because I have to play PvE, and I play PvE because I have to play PvP.
Yeah,
It's like
half the guns
this
I don't have in the
vicious
game because I
cycle.
refuse to play PvP. I just don't find it fun. I don't want to grind out a bunch of PvP to get certain things. It's
And
annoying.
It's a
the
very
balance is so-
different. It's the funny thing is I feel like so many people coming from previous Bungie games, specifically Halo, like look at Destiny's PvP like it's an arena experience, and like when I think of arena, it's a tight, like very well balanced sort of combat loop.
Yeah.
And Destiny is meant to be
not.
this very extravagant, very not extravagant, maybe flamboyant is a better word for it, but like very over the top, kind of
Fantastical.
bananas, mythical PvP experience. And
Man,
there
I'm
is
having
a balance
yeah.
to find in that, and Bungie rarely finds that even. But
I'm having a good
Yeah.
time.
It can
I'm
be
like, I
fun.
definitely got this guy, and then just boop, either blown up by some like giant black ball that just comes out of nowhere, or a little golden gun that just shoots me, or God.
There's just
Yeah,
there are
sometimes-
certain things that they've never been able to get.
Still fun,
Like
though.
you just bring. I bet you if you go to any Destiny engineer and you say the word Telesto, they'll punch you right in the face.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. How many times have they had to take that out because? Jeez.
well, Daniel, are you asking about like the last 6 months, or are you asking about like since
I mean,
D2
all
launched?
time.
Mhm.
It's
I'm-
like no joke. I think it's been around 30 times that
Yeah.
Telesto's broken the game in
Yeah.
some
Is that a
player.
gun in the
Mhm.
game?
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
it's a fusion rifle that instead of shooting and it's just energy that hits people, you hit them with little tiny mines that are like coded as like
Each.
NPC mines for some reason,
Okay.
which constantly breaks the game because anything that buffs NPCs or anything that's NPC damage, it just constantly breaks things over and over again, and they just can't seem to get it to not break things. And plus, sometimes it's just unbelievably powerful, and you can just wreck things if like everyone has a Telesto.
There was
So
a
it's-
horde mode a few years back that you would earn percentage to completing that mode based on kills, and people would just shoot Telesto at the ground, and the mines would explode, and you'd get progress for it.
Yep.
Because those were NPCs dying.
What
Yeah.
the heck?
It was so
So-
fun, dude. I love it.
So Forebear, I do got a question for you, because you've been in the Destiny community, pretty hardcore for a while, right? Like that's one of your, that and Halo have been your games.
I host a Destiny podcast, Pyramid Scheme. Check it out.
Yeah, and so I guess I want to ask you a question about that because, being in the community a lot, you probably have a good idea of, I guess there's no such thing as like a type that is in the community, but would you say that a lot of them came from classic Halo, or would you say it's kind of spread out all over?
I think that's a very good question. It's interesting seeing the diversity that is like people coming from all sorts of gaming walks coming to Destiny. A lot of people that came to Destiny were big MMO fans, like World of Warcraft and things like that. Another huge percentage of people were people that came from Halo. At the beginning of last generation, we saw a lot of Xbox users switch over to PlayStation.
Yeah.
Just a lot of that was even just the price point difference.
Right.
And you saw a lot of Halo fans move over to PlayStation and didn't have a Halo game to play. And Destiny, being a Bungie game, just inherently feels really good, in my opinion, and even shares a lot of sensibilities with Halo's like core gameplay mechanics. So yeah, you do see. I'd say the game is probably 1/3 Halo fans, 1/3 MMO fans, and then 1/3 just like action RPG fans. And they all kind of coalesce in the same way that the game does.
It's a lot of Phantasy Star Online fans because Bungie really took a lot
Oh
of
my
Phantasy
God.
Star Online. Like a lot of that. If you've ever played PSO 2, That's a lot of what Destiny.
Another game with a terrible
I'd say
onboarding,
more.
by the way. I'm just saying.
It's one of the worst.
I'd say more of the original PSO, but yeah,
Yeah.
Does Sega own Phantasy Star Online?
yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They should have sued Bungie into the dirt over this game. It's unreal the amount of like references, things that are straight up like ripped off of Phantasy Star Online. Like Bungie
yeah, I
was
think
like,
if you-
"Hey, how can we make Halo, but it's Phantasy Star Online?"
Yeah,
Wow.
if you played Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast, GameCube, Xbox, and play most sci-fi MMO style games, you'll find a lot of influence from PSO.
Mhm.
I had no
it
idea.
is the originate. I mean, it's the originator for. I mean, it's one of the first MMOs. Period. Like first online console.
Let alone
games,
console.
period.
Yeah.
I played
All
it
right,
with my dial-up modem.
So let's. I do remember that. Yeah, that was the
Back in the
days.
days, Dreamcast.
You
had
put,
the
you put in.
everything.
He had a desk drawer of AOL discs. The free
God.
trials, and it still has no idea what I'm talking.
I
about.
remember AOL. Okay, we used it.
Old people
Probably-
still
They
use
had
it.
COL.
We did a history
Canada
report on
Online,
AOL. Abe.
No, we actually used AOL, man. I remember the noise very distinctly, especially because I use a fax machine every day usually.
There was a little tiny N in front of the A for North America Online.
So okay, I want to. This is since we're talking Destiny this week, and usually we're not, but with the news,
We can
coming
talk
out.
about whatever we want. We're adults.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Let's.
It's the internet, eh?
Yeah, you can and pretty much
Well,
everything
sorry.
goes these days.
We could talk. We can do a little bit more Halo or whatever.
Holy
Thanks,
crap.
bud.
Minnesota.
Oh my god! All right,
It's true,
question.
it's true.
So now Sony owns this, right? So obviously we know there's not going to be Destiny on Game Pass going forward. So what's your guys' thoughts on that? Is that a type of game? Because I think one of the things that sells it is, I think you brought that was interesting analysis or insight from you, Forebear, about the kind of the base and kind of what attracts people to it. Is there something there? Because Halo. Is it just me being a Halo fanboy? I don't know, but I feel like the mechanics of Halo could go into so many other things. Do you think that this might be something that they could spin off, somehow take advantage of some of that within Halo, or maybe just take the engine and have another team maybe build a different type of game off of it like that? It does feel like it will be a whole, now that Destiny is going to, long term for the subscription. It is a missed opportunity. Do you think that is something that's possible with Halo, or do we think that because it's so arena based, that's just not, you would just never even try to go into making a PvE something that
Loot game.
brings people back over and over again, right? Like I know it's going to have its firefight,
Like,
but
do you
that
think
firefight,
that
Halo
Firefight-
Schluter.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, something like that.
I think it's totally possible. I mean, if you look at a lot of Destiny 1, it's just a heavily modified Halo Reach. Like so much of that game is very, very much so based on mechanics and exploration that was done during the development of Halo Reach. I think it's always possible. I think.
I was begging for it.
I mean,
really want that
honestly.
mode.
It's one of those things that it's for me, it's like how far are you willing to take the IP into a different direction than what it exists right now, because it's really hard to do, like, and I conceptualized this a lot last year, where I was like, man, how would like a raid work in Halo? Because like a lot of mechanics that come with like MMOs and things like that just don't exist in Halo.
Yeah.
Don't really have a place in canon. But like, if you wanted to do something where, like Forerunner influence has given you these abilities or these buffs or debuffs or whatever, like I think you could stretch the fiction a little bit.
Or
to
even
make
go
something like that
further
work.
back and play as foreigners
Right.
with different classes, right?
100%.
That is,
Yeah, I mean-
and that was a good call. I just saw you put that in the chat. The Forge mode is going to have PvE possibilities. They do need a progression system though to make that work. I guess that's what I'm getting at. You need to figure out a progression, which
The actual
is
MMO part of Destiny.
yeah, and that is probably going to be the key with all of this. Really, I mean, at the end of the day, you could have the best game. People they get addicted to that having that carrot on the end of the stick, right? And I'll be curious to see what we know. It's not a 3-4-3 strong point right now, but
how much support do you think they're gonna give Arena until they're like, we're satisfied with this, and we're gonna focus full support on other modes like you guys are talking about, or the big mode that's coming? You know what I mean? Is that okay? Yeah. Before.
I personally don't think that it's the same team that works on Arena, that works on a PvE mode, that works on even Big Team Battle. Like there's some overlap between Arena and Big Team. They're essentially the same thing, just at a larger scale. I think that if we get like a PvE mode, which is what I think Certain Affinity is actually working on, not a battle royale.
Halo Monster Hunter. I'm sorry. It's
hey, that Halo Monster Hunter actually sounds really good.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be fun. But so you don't think? Sorry, so you think Arena will keep getting new maps even in like 2024? Like it'll be a team dedicated toward it.
Yeah, I think Arena is going to continue to get support. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, based on the platform that they've set Infinite to be, it makes sense that it would be, if they're living up to this 10-year plan that people are assuming to be the case, then it definitely would still get maps.
Okay.
To Forebear's point, I just wonder, we're getting into a point now, once the Activision deal closes, that Xbox will have, yes, they'll have a bevy of studios, but they'll also have an overabundance of IP. So the question then becomes, okay, does somebody internal work on, this kind of side story Halo, or do they use global publishing to snag a, second party developer at the time to work on it? That's the only question. Like, I think we always talk about how Halo succeeds in transmedia, and it does. But I think if it really wants to kind of branch out, because obviously we've seen with Sony already announced as part of their acquisition of Bungie that they want to bring Destiny into film and TV. So, why not utilize some of those relationships to build Mike and I always talk about a ODST survival horror game. Why not do something like that, and then do something like even if it's built within Infinite, a sort of PvE where you're not playing the Chief, but you are playing other Spartans, or you're playing ODSTs or whatever, and it's a true progression experience that you can come back to time and time again. I think that just makes sense.
Yeah. Those are,
I agree completely. I think it makes a lot of sense to have somebody like, maybe not specifically Raven, but with Halo Infinite being this 10-year project, I don't see any reason why we couldn't have spin-off titles very akin to ODST, just built in the engine with minor updates here and there to update lighting. And I mean, I can't believe Microsoft doesn't own Certain Affinity yet, but
honestly,
they now have all of these studios that could work on spin-off titles while Infinite's multiplayer is going, and while Infinite itself is getting campaign expansions. Like Halo could be a massive gaming franchise alone, let alone like transmedia and things like that.
It can go so many different places, especially.
Exactly. They could do an RTS, they could do a twin-stick shooter. I mean,
Halo Wars 3, baby.
They could have an arcade game where you're sitting down.
No, they got to get Sega first, and then we can have.
They got to get StarCraft going before they do Halo Wars again. But anyways, all right. I think those are some good ideas, some good insight again from the Destiny side of things. Obviously that is going to now be over at Sony, which, by the way, I don't look at that as a negative at all. I think that's something, I think it's going to get more support than it's ever gotten. And on the flip side, it's going to push Microsoft maybe to kind of come up with their own counter to that. And that's one of the reasons why I brought that up.
It doesn't actually change anything Xbox wise, because
Game Pass wise it does. Game Pass, because that was going to be a
already free to play. I mean,
God, could you imagine published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, available on Game Pass?
MLB The Show.
MLB, we already have it.
22.
Abe, there really is no reason they could, if they are self-publishing still, there is no reason that Xbox could not do it.
I think
MLB is on Game Pass on Xbox, but you have to pay $70 for it on PlayStation. So we already have an example.
That's
how it is. We already have an example of that.
100%.
So
And they
It'd
buried the
be
news
so.
of 22
Yeah.
coming to Game Pass too, right? That was
Yep.
announced about like 4 days ago.
Oh, yeah,
No one talked
it was
about
definitely a multi-year deal. They definitely were like, if this does well, we're going to do it again, right? And yep,
Yeah.
right back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm still so surprised that Bungie's newer games aren't going to be exclusive. That just feels so.
And they even called out
weird to me.
on rival consoles, like
Yeah, like they were
they're not being
crystal
ambiguous
clear.
about this.
I mean,
Like there are still
really
people
quick,
trying to say, "Oh, I don't believe it," but
Well, I think
Right
the
now, I'm gonna
strategy
cut off
that
everyone.
exists-
as somebody who played a lot of Destiny before it got to Game Pass, I mean, after the Activision split, you had to pay for the expansions, and this is before it went free to play. You paid for the game, you paid for the expansions, and you paid for the battle pass. The only thing, now that the game is free to play, the only thing that this changes, if it doesn't return to Game Pass, is that you pay for the expansions. That's it.
Oh,
You
okay.
still have to pay for the battle
Yeah.
pass. So functionally for Xbox players, we're not talking about much of a change at all in the investment. So I think ultimately when we talk about how does this change Xbox players, I mean, it really doesn't. You're talking about spending, if you play every season a year, you're talking about $120 a year, right? So, which is still a lot, but that's
if you do the deluxe, you
comparatively.
get 80. You get the expansion, you get all 4 seasons. So it's not
Right. So there are ways to spend less money. Correct.
and you get the 2 dungeons and all
Well,
that.
you know, Xbox players don't buy games, so we're not going to play it. But anyways, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Anyways, yeah, just joking. So I think that's a good way spot to
No,
wrap that topic
I
up.
think you
Go
might
ahead,
have wanted to mention something.
Oh, did you want?
I totally lost it, so we're good.
Yeah, damn it! I just knew you mentioned. I just don't remember what it was.
Sorry, that's my bad. Sometimes
No, not at all, not at all.
Yeah, I do think
All right,
like
guys.
the overall strategy, the only thing that changes is that hopefully they're able to take more time and plan
Yeah.
things better.
I remembered it, which was just that I think the only reason that Destiny came off of Game Pass when it did was because this deal was so far along that they probably wanted to like make sure that legalities were all set in place. I think once this gets signed again, I would not be surprised to see
Still on
Shadow
PC.
Keep, Beyond Light, and the Witch Queen come to Game Pass.
Yeah, they're still all, it's still on Game Pass on PC.
PC, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Or
right.
Very
Until the Witch Queen releases in February. This month.
You're saying this wasn't a reaction to Activision?
Yeah, well, all I need is 2 weeks to work out a multi-billion.
Right.
dollar
Even
deal.
Sony was like, "Yeah, we're fast, but we're not that fast, guys. Come on."
You know, we always talk about these things take a long time, and then they come out and they say, "Yeah, Activision Blizzard took 3 months," and we're like, "Fuck!" They still normally take a long time.
I know.
Yeah.
Me being the mod that's always like, guys, chill the fuck out. It takes a while. And then Activision got done in 3 months. I'm like, damn it, come on.
Which is so funny because like Herman Hulst was like, "Yeah, we've been talking to Bungie for 6 months about this."
Bungie been talking.
$3
We did our
billion.
friggin' story, and they had been talking like it had
Yeah,
been a long time.
yeah.
We weren't
Yep.
off on Xbox looking at Bungie. They've all been talking for a long time.
Right.
The only thing you could
Yeah.
say is, "Oh, maybe this accelerated." They were really close, and then they just like,
Yeah.
"Okay, we'll pull the trigger."
Might have jumped the
Right.
price.
They had
still.
already done all the legwork. It's not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, based on the retainers to the employees, it's clear that you're probably right. It probably accelerated and probably put a greater negotiating hand in Bungie. In Bungie's
Bungie got a
corner.
lot of money.
Because
think-
because they need those, and I mean they've said, hey, we're going to be using Bungie to also help train and educate our other studios to be able to create games as service games, to create better online experiences, etc., etc. So
Hey, we got 10 of them coming,
desperately
by the way.
need-
Right?
yeah, I mean, like Pactor and several others said, this is kind of a desperation move because Sony's realizing
How often?
that
By the way, like he might be right, but
He got
how often is
Zenimax
actually right?
years ago, 2018. I remember I was watching that Q&A live.
Blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. I feel
no,
like
I mean, but to be fair, this isn't one of his predictions that he's always wrong.
Exactly.
This is an analysis, and he wasn't the only one who said that. It was essentially a desperation move, and it's not a negative connotation towards Sony. It's just the fact that they realize they need more titles that have that recurring downstream revenue
Absolutely.
because they don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
anything like that, and that's
Yeah.
what
and they don't have
Destiny-
any experience in making.
I mean, God,
those
even
things
like
right.
their one big multiplayer game that they were promising, which was The Last of Us 2 Factions, which isn't
still
even
has
a
not
big
come out.
multiplayer game. It hasn't been mentioned since that game released.
And it was despite what people think, it was announced as part of the package, and then they put out a tweet, just like CDPR did, saying, "Hey, this is, to focus on the quality of the single player," which was the right call. But to your point, Forbear, like it hasn't been mentioned at all since that.
We're shifting our crunch to only single player. We can't crunch both.
Yeah. All right. By the way, guys, I've been checking the Twitters. It looks like a bunch of people have been playing Big Team Battle, and they say they're not having issues. It seems like
our
it's
forums
running.
are very positive about it.
So I think we're going to jump off here, and I'm probably going to be
score
on
stays
there.
the same.
9.9.
That's not actually it. Just okay.
Yeah. I think once we jump off here, I'll jump on there, and if anybody in our community wants,
we don't need to hear about you jumping on anyone.
Oh, stop it!
Jesus Christ! How old are you, Jesse?
The family. This is a family program.
Jesse, I have 13-year-old jokes. I don't know how to respond to them anymore.
Jokes a 13-year-old would make.
Soulblazerz, that's when you make an old joke.
Oh, I was about to say that was mad funny. Did you guys ever use the word mad in your
No.
vocabulary much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oddly enough, I'm not into that.
I'm so old that we used to use the word fresh.
I don't think anyone here is from Boston.
Things are fresh.
No, that'd be wicked.
Oh, really?
Wicked awesome.
Yeah.
Did you say wicked?
Born
Did you
and
say
raised in
wicked, wicked smart?
No,
Wicked
the
smart.
only people who talk like that are all phonies, or they're from Southie.
Oh no! When I went to PAX East at Boston, 2000. God, what year was that? 2011.
And they're all putting it on. I promise you. If they're just hanging out at their house, they're not going, dude, that's wicked fucking stupid, bro. Hand to God, dumbass shit. They're not talking like that normally. They're doing it when they're around people. Like
Okay.
New Yorkers who are always talking about eating bagels and pizza in New York is the best. Like, they don't really talk like that.
I did have an old moment, though. My brother started using some slang. I have cracked. What the heck is cracked? I've never heard that before in my life. Now,
Soulblazerz, you work for an online video game website. How have you not heard cracked?
Cracked? I mean, I get what it means, but I've never seen it in like real life,
Oh, well, I don't think I have either. I've seen it online. I do have
Abe's
a
head
younger
is
brother.
just spinning.
Okay, yeah, we should probably
it's all good. It's all good. It's fine.
probably X out.
What's that over
All
there?
the Zoomers.
We're just like
Whoa! I'm a millennial.
Yeah,
Barely, I am.
we've completely lost control of the show. All right, I think it's time for the sign off. Do you guys think any final thoughts on anything?
I have control of the show, by the way. I can take it whenever I want and mute any of you.
Yeah. All right. Well, then you just
I'm
take care of
the
this.
strong one.
I'm gonna be playing Halo, you guys. Jesse might be here. I don't know.
Final thoughts. No matter, honestly, like regardless of how bad this TV show is, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, it's Halo. You don't have that much sci-fi to watch. It's coming out in March. What the
You
heck?
didn't even
why
have
not?
to pay. You got it for your T-Mobile.
Exactly. T-Mobile for free, right? So I'm definitely watching it. That's
Halo's a pretty cool guy, you guys. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not afraid of nothing.
nothing afraid of nothing.
It's too bad it's
Can't
owned
wait
by
to see
Sony
him on my
now.
telly.
Yeah.
Nice, Abe.
Oh, good
It's
times.
full meta.
Video
full
games
meta
are
tonight.
fun, and our website's going to have a lot of stuff. We might, this year, we might have a Halo multiplayer review.
So, okay, quick update. It is done. It's finished. In fact, it finished a few days ago. I've been making sure to record some clips that are not actually relevant to my review. It's long. Like, the video is probably going to be like 20, 25 minutes long. It's okay. I'll be honest. People keep saying there's no content. There's a lot of damn crap in this game, man. I know this because I had
you
to go
have like
through.
Red Bull for the show.
No, this is totally normal. Some tea.
Well, he's not old and weak like us. We're all tired.
There's
from life.
a fair bit of stuff to go through in this game, all right? But either way, if anyone waiting for the review's done. I feel like it's fairly decent. I tried hard to keep it as neutral. What does neutral mean? No, it's nothing. I tried hard to keep it objective. No such thing. It's a review, okay? I'm going to work on the video. It's finished, and it should be out. I'm not going to give a date because that never works, but soon, TM.
And then you guys will all know whether you should go play it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not convinced.
I put up the Master Chief Collection review, in like March, and it did okay, but it just keeps going up and up and up. It's like a 23,000 now, and it only hit like 500 the first month.
Oh god, that's
So
salt in
it's
the
an
wound right there.
evergreen review. It'll keep getting people to watch as the
Yeah,
seasons hit.
Which
and
is
then they look.
why I held back from releasing. Oh no, I mean it wasn't gonna get done in
Yeah,
a few days
that's
anyways.
fully the reason. That's the
But-
only
The
No,
real
no.
joke is that it's actually going up as a review in progress and does not have a score.
That's not true. It does have a score. But no. What I'm saying was like people are saying, "Hey, Bikini Battle's still broken." I'm like, okay, let's wait till Thursday. They got it. Woohoo! Nice.
So now in 3 weeks we'll have a review up maybe.
All right, guys. But it was a good show. I think some good topics today. We were able to dive in a little bit to some different ends of the possibilities of Halo and
Bungie and Destiny.
and what was Cortana wearing and good topics today.
Hey, make it weird, man. Like what the
What a
hell?
dynamic ending.
This is the standard. This is the standard. Just the meander.
More like, what isn't she wearing?
Yeah.
Hey. Like,
That was a
fucking
12-year-old.
Jesus, dude.
I still think that thing looks cheap, whatever the hell she's got on there. Anyways, so go ahead and sign us off.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, everyone.
Before we get canceled, I think we got be quick.
Thanks for watching. If you guys have any feedback at all about the show, let us know. We love having Four on. We might have him on more often. We'll hopefully, I don't know how about our progress is, but hopefully we'll try and get some guests on at a more regular cadence. I think so far we've had 2, right?
Mhm.
Or 2 guests on. Yeah, 2.
Mhm.
But
One really.
yeah, one I kind of removed.
We'll just count one then.
Yeah, I know it was a great guest, the one we had. But if you have any feedback or anything, let us know. If you liked the video, please like, share it. If you really enjoy what we do, check out Patreon. We're almost at 100 patrons, which is super cool. And we have a tier which is like nothing. It's like $1.
A buck.
So if you have a little bit of money to spare and you want to help us out a little bit, please take a look at that. And yeah, thank you for watching.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Take
right.
it easy.
Thank you, everyone,
Thanks-
and we'll
thank
see
you
you
for
here
coming,
next time
everybody.
for episode 40 of You Had Me at Halo. Wow. All
I hate
right.
how you
flies,
say
huh?
that.
God damn.
Ugh.
Bye.
See you guys.
See ya.
I'm going to wait on clicking stream over. We're just going to keep going like this.
Bye-bye.
And we're back with a special after show. How you doing,
got
everybody?
to
Okay,
get-
I'm kidding.
What's up,
Bye-bye.
Got to get
motherfuckers?
better.